Brian McRae will lead off in center field. Kevin Seitzer will be at third base. George Brett, number 2 in the league in hitting now at first, will bat third. Bo Jackson, the designated hitter, followed by left fielder Jim Eisenreich. Jeff Schultz will draw the start in right field. Kurt Stillwell will be at shortstop. Hitting 8th, second baseman Bill Pecota, and the catcher is the veteran Bob Boone. Defensively for the Rangers, some changes today. In right field, Jack Doherty. Gary Pettis back in the lineup. In center, Pete Incaviglia in left. Around the infield, Steve Buechele at third, Jeff Kunkel at shortstop, Julio Franco at second, Rafael Palmeiro at first. The catcher off his sickbed, Gino Petralli, and the pitcher making his major league debut, right-hander Gerald Alexander.
And Gerald, 13-2 at Oklahoma City with a 4.10 earned run average. That earned run average a little deceptive in the fact that he struggled his first 4 starts after being promoted from Port Charlotte, the Florida State League, where in his final 5 starts had a .054 earned run average. And pretty outstanding in his last 16 starts with a .274 earned run average. Oklahoma City. Pretty good numbers there. Had a little bit of control, basically better control than what the 45 base on balls in that 118 innings of work showed. That he got there, had a little bit of a growing problem and had trouble, went on the DL after his first start, came back, had trouble 3 times, and after that basically put it together and found it. Wants to say hi to everybody back home in Donaldsonville, Louisiana.
He'll face Brian McRae, who he knows something about, both from the American Association. The first pitch is inside for a ball. His big pitch is a curveball. He sets it up, really, his fastball, which he'll spot with his change and his big curve. There's a half swing looper back into the crowd. 1 ball and 1 strike. Well, what do you work about? You're a veteran catcher, Gino Petralli. You've got a pitcher making his major league debut. You don't know a lot about him. How do you handle it?
Well, basically, you spend some time talking with Chad Kruder, who caught him down at Oklahoma City, just to get an idea of what his pitches are.
Brian McRae bunts it foul, and he's down on the count 1-2. This is an interesting matchup with the leadoff man because they no doubt have faced each other. Brian spent most of the year at Omaha, and that also is in the American Association.
Well, I tried to find out about that, and actually only Bill Pecota on this ball club has faced Gerald Alexander. Bill Pecota hit a home run earlier in the year off of him, and of course Pecota was saying the wind was blowing out in Oklahoma City, that it really wasn't a fair home run. I got it up, let the wind take care of it.
Well, McRae doesn't look like he's faced him as he strikes out. That's really strange how he would have missed him during the year, but let's take a look at the curve.
This big curveball we're talking about here, something like Craig McMurtry, also Nolan Ryan. Gets up in the strike zone, drops down, and that's really his big pitch. His fastball is around 86 miles an hour, not overpowering, but he uses it very well, moves it in and out. And I think the big key here is probably the deception. It has a nice motion that allows the hitter a chance to get mixed up when he sees that glove come through, and the arm action. Doug Cassaway, the scout with the Rangers that drafted him out of Tulane, said that he reminds him a lot of Doyle Alexander.
This is Kevin Seitzer, a .274 hitter. Takes a fastball for a strike.
I see right back here, leg kick almost like Ryan's, and arm comes back pretty much over the top.
Front leg's a little stiffer when he comes down than Nolan's. There's the 1-1. That's fouled back to the screen. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
This could be an advantage for Alexander from the standpoint that the team has not seen him very much. The Royals, as we mentioned, only 1 player batting against him, and the fact that since the Royals have been struggling offensively, could be a good opportunity for the youngster to get a win here.
Here's the 1-2. Misses outside. And again, the key goes back to that same old thing we talk about all the time. If he's throwing strikes, he really has the advantage because they've not seen him. But if he's getting behind in the count, then he kind of loses that advantage. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And he misses outside and low. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Full count. 1 out here in the first. Seitzer has been in a slow spell. 8 for his 84 on this road trip. 8 for 85. Should be caught. Right side, foul territory. Franco toward the line. Up, stayed fair. That's out number 2. It's time now for the Lennox temperature check. Brought to you by Lennox. When quality heating and air conditioning is a must, it must be a Lennox. And it's a comfortable 77 degrees. 77% Relative humidity, the wind's out of the south at 14, gusty, and a 30% chance of thunderstorms. Overcast skies.
Probably the biggest wind that we've had on this homestand, wind blowing from right to left, and normally the ball will carry down the left field line. It'll be difficult trying to get one out if you hit it up in the air to right field. Normally when you have the straight in wind blowing, it ends up being kind of a tunnel effect where the wind blows straight out, and as it comes in around the back area here and shoots out, it can be good for home runs. But with this right to left, try to keep it down the left field line.
George Brett's .322 has moved him ahead of Palmeiro into second place in the American League batting race by 1 point. Ricky Henderson at .326 is the leader. 2 balls and no strikes, and this is exactly how they stack up. Henderson hit a couple of homers yesterday, but only gained a point. Brett had a couple of hits. Palmeiro had just one, but did he have a big one? Game winner. High pop up on the infield. Anybody can take it. Buechele says he will. He does, and that retires the side. Well, Alexander wanted to get through the first one easily, and you can't get through it much easier than that. We'll go to the bottom of the first inning. Take a look at the Rangers batting order and the KC defense. No score after a half inning. You by your Dallas and Tarrant County Toyota dealers. Toyota, I love what you do for me. A few changes in the order. Gary Pettis gets back up into that leadoff spot playing center field. Julio Franco at second base. Rafael Palmeiro at first. Ruben Sierra hits cleanup the DH tonight. This afternoon, Doherty in right field. Pete Incaviglia hitting sixth in left. Gino Petralli catching. Steve Buechele at third. Jeff Kunkel is in at shortstop. Defensively for Kansas City, Jeff Schultz draws the nod in right field. Brian McRae in center. Jim Eisenreich moves over to left. Seitzer at third. Stillwell at short. That hasn't changed the whole series. Bill Pacoda at second base. George Brett back to first. Bob Boone gets his first appearance of the series behind the plate, and the pitcher is the right-hander Andy McGaffigan.
Andy 3-2 on the year with a very nice .292 earned run average in his 10th start of the year, 17th appearance, and giving up about 10 less hits than innings pitched. And control, 22 base on balls, 64 innings, not bad. Quite a bit since the last time the Rangers faced him in Kansas City when he had 7 base on balls in just about less than 40 innings. But said he went through a little dead arm period and now seems to be feeling much better.
Pettis hitting .239, leading off, taking it all the way, bringing the infield in. Strike one. Pettis has been out of the lineup the last 3 games with Gonzalez playing in center. Juan not drawing the start, at least the start today.
There's that palm ball. McGaffigan has not only that, along with the fastball, slider. Uses all 3 of them, can throw all 3 at any time for strikes.
He's a guy that's had a chance to be in and out a lot of teams' rotations, but hadn't been able to consistently stay there. 1 ball and 2 strikes. He was originally in the Yankee organization. In fact, he played one of his years, probably his second year, I think, for Stump Merrill in West Haven in the Eastern League. Yankee skipper. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
You take a look at just how many injuries this Kansas City staff has had this year. That's why he's had this opportunity.
Well, he makes good on this one as he strikes out Pettis to lead off the ball game. Gaffigan had 40 strikeouts coming in 64 2/3 innings.
Getting a nice palm ball, good sinking action down and away. You got a master behind the plate tonight, helping McGaffigan call the game, and Bob Boone. So
McGaffigan's career, excuse me, but you know, his career may have been fouled up a little bit because he was in that Yankee organization during the period when Steinbrenner was signing free agents instead of elevating people, because he had some good years. He had a year where he won 15 games in the Southern League at Nashville, and then he won 8 for Columbus the next year, and he was on that shuttle. Never really got a shot with the Yankees.
And of course, his best year in the major leagues, 10 wins in '86 with Montreal.
Franco hitting .302. He had 3 of the Rangers' 4 hits last night. He drove in the first one and scored the winner.
Really has worked out better having Julio in that number 2 spot. Last year hitting behind Sierra in number 5 and providing protection for Ruben. He has worked very well in this lineup with Pettis and Houston struggling at times. He has been able to, that number 2 slot, set the table for everybody down below him.
9 home runs, 62 runs batted, and he's hit 2 homers during this homestand after going a long streak without any long balls. I think he'd gone once in the previous 74, but he's homered twice in the last 3 games. McGaffigan, the right-hander, is from West Palm Beach, Florida, 6'3", 190 pounds. 3 balls and a strike. Rangers will go to New York as we have a little drizzle falling in at least some portions of the ballpark. Here's the 3-1. Didn't want to go away from his best pitch. He just left it low, and Franco draws the walk. Gaffigan has walked 23 now in 65 innings even. And Rafael Palmeiro will step up. Franco among the stolen base leaders, tied for 6th with 28 out of 36 tries.
Yeah, along with his 300 hitting that he normally consistently does, the walk right there, as he shows, allows that on base percentage, which is good for the Rangers. Good opportunity here today to probably again use the hit and run. McGaffigan with a decent move to first, pretty quick to the plate, and you got Bob Boone behind the dish that pretty good in throwing out runners.
Pitch is upstairs, and it's 1 ball and no strikes. You talked about that on base percentage, 382 for Franco coming into the game, and those that try to analyze that sort of thing say anything over 375 is very good. 382 is better.
Yeah, really important at top of that lineup for a couple of reasons. Number one is that when you've got the first 2 guys on base, normally you can't pitch around your 3 and 4 guys. You have to pitch to them. You can't pitch around them, and that's very important. And we see that on this particular homestand with Franco getting on base.
Dancing around, the pitch to Palmeiro is up again. McGaffigan, after losing the strike zone low basically to Franco, has lost it high to Palmeiro. This is the same setup we had in the 9th inning last night, which the Rangers won the ball game. 1 out, the leadoff man was retired. Franco reached base, and then Palmeiro doubled into the gap to score the run.
You talk about that on base percentage. Baltimore all year has had problems in number 1 and 2 spot, people getting on base, to the point that Milligan and Tettleton, 3 and 4 hitters, lead the major leagues in walks, and something that a lot of people think that is wrong with the Baltimore lineup is you don't want your 3 and 4 hitters walking all the time. You want them swinging the bat. You want them disciplined enough that the pitchers have to throw them strikes, but basically you want those guys right in the middle swinging the bats, driving in runs.
Remember, that was the one criticism that some had, believe it or not, with Ted Williams, is that he walked too much, that he knew the strike zone too well, and that because he was in that 3rd or 4th position almost all the time with the Red Sox, he walked too often. Here's the 3-0 pitch, and there's a strike. Good hitting position now for Palmeiro, the discipline needed, but he can look for particular pitch, particular spot. If he doesn't get it, lay off. There goes Franco, and a fly ball to left field. Eisenreich backs up a couple of steps, makes the catch, and Franco will trot back to first. 2 down.
Now, discipline is such a key in baseball. You've got to have it as a hitter or a pitcher, especially in those 2 positions, because that's where it takes the most discipline in order to perform well. As a hitter, you have to be able to take your ups and downs, and even though you go through a series that pitchers pitch you a certain way and have success, you still stay within yourself.
Ruben Sierra, who has just killed Kansas City pitching throughout his career, he has his best batting average of his career against Kansas City. 354. He's also got 54 RBIs. That's the best he has done against any single team, and he's hit 12 homers, which is matched only with the total against Seattle. And that's saying something, because Kansas City has usually had pretty good pitching every year.
And take the fact that they really have given a few of them away. We've talked about not giving them away, traded them away. Bankhead, David Cohn, we mentioned that last night, and a couple other ones.
Franco running again. Boone has to short hop it, still throws it. It's a stolen base. see if the veteran Boone can show us some of that quick-handedness.
Well, let's see, this is outstanding play. This is a major league play. You just don't see people below the major league level make that type of play, be able to pick it and then make a throw. Of course, there wasn't a chance because of the ball in the dirt, a breaking ball, giving the hitter the most the base runner the most opportunity. Bob Boone getting rid of the ball extremely well after a quick pick in the dirt.
I always have liked his mask. He uses one of those, looks like old umpire's masks. Here's the 2-ball, no-strike count. There's a liner to deep left field. Back to the wall is Eisenreich. He turns, he jumps, he makes the catch. Eisenreich robs Ruben Sierra of extra base hits, robs the Rangers of a run, and we're scoreless after 1. We'll go to the top of the 2nd when we return on HSE.
The top of the 2nd inning. We want to remind you there's plenty more Texas Ranger action coming up on HSE after this series as the Brewers move in to play the Rangers on September 14th, 7:30 game, and then to the Brewers September 24th, which is a Monday, and then Wednesday the 26th, all 7:30 games as the Angels come in to take on the Texas Rangers. Stay with us for the whole season. Check local listings for games in your area.
We have no scores. We go to the top of the 2nd. Bo Jackson will lead off. Jim Eisenreich and Jeff Schultz to follow. We love Bo. That's the Auburn University symbol in the middle of the heart. 277, 23 homers, and 65 runs batted in.
I'm becoming more and more of an Auburn fan since my son signed a letter of intent to play ball there.
That's right. And there's the big swing of the big Bo. Well, Bo from Auburn. Frank Thomas, the rookie with the White Sox from Auburn. Of course, the fine pitcher who actually started all, Greg Olson, the reliever for Baltimore.
There's some fine ball players come in the recent years through teams through schools in the South. You take a look at Mississippi State with Palmero and Thigpen and Clark. And you take Alexander today with Tulane, and you got Ben McDonald with LSU. And Gerald was saying before the game that he decided to go to Tulane because of the scholarship that LSU, although he'd been an LSU fan most of his life growing up around that area, that they had a bunch of young players going to LSU headed by McDonald, and so he headed off to Tulane. Wanted to say hi to all of his friends back home who call him Jacques.
Well, that's good. We are on in New Orleans. Home Sports Entertainment is on some of the cable systems there, so I'm sure they're watching this one this afternoon. Bo Jackson with a 1-ball, 2-strike count. Curveball, he went and chopped at it. That's going to be a tough play for Buechele. He can't make it. That's a base hit. Step on that one. That was one of those, if the ball's coming to Steve, he says, oh my goodness, that's Bo Jackson running. I'm going to have to make the greatest play I've ever made, and it wasn't possible.
Well, that's what a guy with speed will do to the infield, much like what Ricky Henderson does. Here, Bo Jackson, with his tremendous speed, puts the pressure on Buechele to come up with a fine play. And little kick, and go ahead, one more kick and you get it over to first.
The question is Bo as fast as Ivar Swanson?
I'm glad you mentioned that.
I promised we'd bring that up. We had a story about Ivar. You mentioned his name. He's holding a record as we get set for the first pitch to Jim Eisenreich, and we'll fill you in because I know with bated breath you're all waiting to find out what's this Ivar Swanson. A very fast runner, right, Jim?
Extremely fast runner. My dad used to mention his name all the time when I was young and going to Wrigley Field to watch games. They used to talk about people with good speed, and Dad would continue to mention Ivar Swanson, who was the postmaster in Galesburg, Illinois, who was my dad's boss. And you think that's kind of funny. Well, I mentioned that the other day on the telecast, and you and Dave kind of give me a little bit of a hard time. And I got a nice letter from a gentleman in Richardson, Lee Murphy. And I appreciate that, Lee, for sending this. And he said he used to go to Chicago St. Louis games, and he'd hear about how fast all these young people were. But his dad used to tell him, you should have seen how fast Ivar Swanson was. So he sent me a little bit of information, and the Guinness World Record under fastest base runner, he has the fastest time going around the base paths in 13.3 seconds. and he did it at the age of 30 in 1932 at an average speed of 18.45 miles an hour. Ivar born in 1902 and passed away in 1973. I knew Ivar. I never saw him run, but Dad told me much about him, and now for sure it's verified.
It's entered in the official HSE record. It's on tape. No balls and 2 strikes to Eisenreich. Jackson still at first. And Eisenreich can't catch up with a high fast one. That's the second strikeout for Alexander. The curveball that he threw Bo was interesting because it was such a slow break that Bo was able to adjust and at least make contact, but he's got enough speed that he can still throw it past you.
And what I like about it is really the fastball up in the strike zone. You have to have a little bit of movement on it and a little bit of velocity in order to get the ball by hitters up in the strike zone. It can be a dangerous area if it's not fast enough.
Here's Jeff Schultz, 263 hitter. He has practically lived his life in Omaha. Over the 4 years, almost 4 years in a row, he spent almost the whole year there. Been a backup outfielder with Kansas City. He's been here most of this year, but reserve outfielder getting a start.
You mentioned Pacoda being the only hitter that has faced Gerald before today. Schultz was trying to say, I think maybe I have faced him, but I'm not really sure. And you know, when you see a guy, he said it came up real quick, and sometimes just the way the rotations are on teams, you may miss a guy, or you may not play against him one particular day. But
one thing also that affects the American Association is they're part of the AAA alliance, and so they actually play a lot of different teams because they play some international league teams during the regular season as well. So it's easy to lose track of who you've played against. The 1 pitch. There's a breaking ball. He just got a piece of it. Bo was off and running. That would have been a good pitch to steal on, but the ball was fouled. Jackson has stolen 14 bases in 23 tries. Of course, he missed a whole month of the season with a shoulder injury.
And a base runner that really takes about halfway before he begins to accelerate. That's probably one of the reasons why at this point in time he hasn't stolen more bases, an area that he needs to improve. But when you take a look at the fact that Bo Jackson played very little high school ball, very little college ball because of football, and yet he's come into the big leagues and in a short period of time really refined his skills, and he's going to nothing but improve.
No balls and 2 strikes. Runner at first and 1 out. A long look and a long release.
He's already stopped wiggling his fingers when he's going to steal. I remember the last couple of years, one of the things I used to look for whenever Bo was on base is his finger wiggling. Some young base runners will get into certain little fundamental errors, and as a catcher, you try to pick up on those.
Not going. The Rangers pitch out.
Now this is a good count. When you get an 0-2 count, good time to pitch out twice. You kind of set them up with the first pitch out, and then you call another one. It's something that worked for me for about a year until opposing managers begin to catch on to it.
Kind of wondering, though, you know, with the 0-2 count and the fact that it is a pitch-outable pitch, you kind of wonder why anybody ever tries to steal, and they just don't end up wasting the pitch.
So you take a look here, he's going back, standing up. He still can get a bigger lead so that you dive back in. That's really how they teach base running, is you want a big enough lead so that when the pitcher throws over, you're diving back in.
Not going. Fly ball foul left side toward the stands. Buechele over, but won't have room. Rangers hit the road for 3 games in New York. They'll have Thursday off. They'll be back here Friday. We will have that game for you on portions of the network. And then I'll have a couple more home games not televised by HSE, and then they'll go back on the road, and we'll catch them for the final week at home. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
I think he's going here. Nope.
Should have, could be 2. There's Palmeiro. 1 from Kunkel. The relay to first is a double play as Alexander makes the toss, takes it from Kunkel, and the Rangers out on the second on the 3-6-1 double play. We'll go to the bottom of the second inning. The Rangers have Doherty, Incaviglia, and Petrali due up against McGaffigan. No score from Arlington. First check of the American League scoreboard on this Sunday afternoon. In the 7th inning, Seattle leads Boston 3-0. Young started against Hesketh. It is 3-2 Oakland over New York in the 7th. No homers in either of those games yet. Baltimore 3, California 1 in the 7th. And no homers in that ball game. In the 6th, Toronto 5, Chicago 1. McGriff is at his 33rd, Myers his 5th. And those were back-to-back homers in the 6th inning. Also on the scoreboard, 3-1 Minnesota over Cleveland in the 4th. No homers yet. And Detroit-Milwaukee, no runs yet in the 4th. Here we have no runs yet, just one hit.
And Toronto beginning to pick things up a little bit. Kelly Gruber adding a little punch yesterday, and that's a big help for them.
Jack Doherty hitting .310 with 4 homers and 37 runs batted in. Been a red-hot hitter. Been hitting, even though he was hitless last night, he's been hitting over 400 over the last several games. In this series, 5 for 10. 6-game hitting streak was snapped last night. There's a new one. Nope, not quite. Pacoda is able to get to it. 1 down. Not hit quite as hard as it looked at first, and Pacoda makes the first put out. That brings up Incaviglia. Pete has been productive in this series. He was 6 for 9 in the first 2 games of the series. 0 for 3 yesterday, but just about everyone was. For the year, .238, 21 homers and 75 RBIs.
If you follow a ball club, you can see the signs of a team beginning to come out of a slump. Even though the last road trip was not a good one, just about 5 or 6 players began to show the signs that they were coming out. They just weren't hitting together. They weren't hitting consistent enough. Incaviglia said in Oakland that he felt as if he was starting to come around, swung the bat very well there. And then here against Kansas City has really caught fire. He has really handled the pitching staff very well and come up with some big numbers. Pretty much if you look through the middle of the lineup from Franco all the way down past Incaviglia. Of course, Gonzalez not in the lineup today. Pettis back in, Kunkel in. So you all but probably the first slot and the 9th slot have contributed during this homestand and this 4-game series with Kansas City.
Couldn't catch hold of that one, breaking down and away. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, last night you could have expected not a whole lot of hitting. Kevin Apier's been having a great season. The only hits he gave up were to Franco. He gave up 3 of them. And then Israel Sanchez gave up the hit that won the ball game. Think he's still alive?
I'm sure with the problems that Kansas City has had this year with the staff, they probably almost wish they had guys like Hubbard and Perez back with Chicago. They've been a big reason. Manager John Wathan will be the first one to tell you how important they have been to the White Sox. They, along with McDowell, have been with their 12 wins. Just a second.
Pacoda, 2 down.
They all have 12 wins. The first time 3 pitchers have had 12 wins for the White Sox since '84. So that's been a reason that Sox have added to where they're at this year.
Gino Petralli, who was out with strep throat. And as Jim indicated, if you read what apparently were quotes garnered after last night's game, might not have been seen for a few days, but all of a sudden here he is. Well, the wonders of modern medicine. That ball's fouled back into the crowd.
And the guys let you know that you've had some kind of a strep throat. They walk by you and they put their hand up to their mouth whenever they talk to you. They tell you not to touch me, don't touch me, don't talk to me. And if you're a catcher and there's a bunch of them on this ball club, you want to make sure you have your own mask.
It's true.
You're kind of sensitive to stuff like that.
A lot of times, though, you like to touch guys who've been hot, but in his case, it's the wrong kind of hot. He's been hot 2 different ways. He's been hitting .365 in the last 26 games, but probably was also hot a little bit for a couple of days with fever, so that's something you stay away from. 1-2.
Not the kind of thing you want to have happen to you, especially the way he is beginning to swing the bat. He's had injuries all year long that have kept him from getting into a good groove, and over the last couple of weeks his body has really straightened around, felt a lot better, and has been swinging the bat very well. But now all of a sudden you get strep throat and it kind of sets you down a little bit. You cause you to your strength to kind of leave you a little, and hopefully Gino can get right back on where he left off.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. We're in the second. We have no score between Kansas City and Texas. Look out down there. Never had to leave his seat. Just stayed in the seat. Caught that foul ball. Golly, he's even injured. And he caught it without moving. He's got a wrist wrap on his right wrist.
Coming at you, pitcher!
Little looper toward left, but it should be handled by Stillwell. It is, and it's an easy inning for Andy McGaffigan. So he has 2 easy innings, a couple of pop-ups and a ground ball. We'll go to the third. No score in the ball game. Coming up, the bottom 3 for the Royals: Stillwell, Pacoda, and Boone. Sojourns through baseball. Let's take a look at the National League scoreboard. Just a couple of games that have gone very far. New York leading Philadelphia 2-1 in the 7th. Maggot in the only homer, his 5th in the 7th. He's, of course, in the batting race. And it is Montreal 5, Pittsburgh 3 in the 6th. That could turn out to be significant, but they got a ways to go yet. Barry Bonds, his 26th home run. Jeff King, the former Arkansas star, his 13th, both for Pittsburgh. The other games later: Houston at San Francisco. It will be Portugal against Lacoste, Cincinnati at Los Angeles, Jackson against Martinez, Atlanta at San Diego, Glavine against Venice, St. Louis at Chicago. That's tonight. Smith and Bilecki.
Cincinnati breathing probably a little bit better after last night.
Yeah, they really had to win 1 out of those 3, because that means the worst they lose is 1 game on their lead, and the worst they do is come out of their 5.5 in front.
And of course, their schedule benefits them being at home more than the Dodgers for the rest of the year.
Stillwell takes the first pitch up top. Going into play today, Boston had the largest lead in the East, or had the lead in the East by 5.5. Oakland 8.5 game lead over Chicago. That's the largest lead in baseball. New York was 3.5 behind Pittsburgh in the East of the National League, and Cincinnati led Los Angeles by 6.5 in the West.
Milwaukee kind of sneaking up there. 12 games, of course. I don't think they'll be able to catch anybody, but that's quite a difference. They're going from 6th all the way back up to 3rd.
Still 6 games under 500. That shows you how the East has been the least so far this year. The top 2 teams are all right, but really not even that much all right. When you look at the record, 73 and 66 for second place, and the Rangers are 72 and 67. That's not a whole lot of difference, and they're not in second place. They're not in the running.
You look at Detroit, how much they have improved themselves this year because of their offense. Their pitching really has been the problem. Detroit all year long has been at the top with Detroit, Milwaukee as far as runs scored, but their pitching has just never clicked into gear.
Full count pitch, loop left side, foul territory. I believe Buechele toward the line, crossing, making the catch. 1 down. This guy's a rookie, huh? He's having a nice time so far. Gerald Alexander.
Well, I think Jacques has gotten pretty comfortable out there now. I think we talked about him trying to get through that first inning, get rid of those jitters, and take a look at his numbers at Oklahoma City. 13 and 2 there with a team that finished more than 30 games under 500. That too has to say something for his type of pitching.
Here's Pacoda, second baseman, taking a strike. He had excellent control, Mr. Alexander. Just 22 years old. Started the year in A-ball. His goal this year was to finish in Double-A. There's a base hit. That's a second hit. When you mentioned that that's the one fellow that knows for sure that he is batted against Alexander. So at least he went up with confidence. That's the second hit of the ball game.
We're talking about his control. Here's a ball outer half of the plate going for strikes, and if you're going to impress Bobby Valentine, Tom House, and the Rangers, you come in here throwing strikes, and he has done that.
Double play wiped out his first base hit in the second. He's thrown 36 pitches, and only 9 of them have been out of the strike zone. Bob Boone, the catcher. I guess it's 11. Well, let's see. It's 37 and 11 now. So he just throws a strike on that first pitch.
A lot of times you think in going into a series, you think about who the pitching staff's going to be if you're a regular player and how difficult that may be. I think one of the things that a lot of players think about when they go to play a team that Bob Boone's on is the fact that he's behind the plate. He has over the years been just one of the generals behind there. I have the most respect for he and Carlton Fisk, and I probably think Boone has given me more problems during the years than Carlton Fisk. I've always kind of in some way been able to figure out how Fisk was going to pitch to me, but Boone has really kept it mixed up and moves it around. Very difficult to get any kind of a pattern from him. But Bill Pacoda, I think, can tell you just how good Bob Boone is on the staff as far as calling a game. Being a second baseman, Pacoda has seen exactly what Boone does.
Kept him alive. They ran Pacoda on the hit and run, and Boone just protected him. The bat went almost all the way out to the mound. This for Boone is his 2,220th game as a catcher, which continues to boost up his mark. All-time games caught. That's the all-time leader. Every time he catches a game, he adds to it.
An outstanding hit and run man. You see John Wathan using the hit and run in the last pitch. He's always been the type of hitter that'll put the ball in play.
Over the last few years, he's of course much more of a slap hitter than he once was. There he slaps one into left field as that one hung up a little bit. Coming over for it is Incaviglia. Running into third base, Pacoda. Boone into second, and he'll make it. A little late getting that ball into second base. Boone doesn't have that much speed, but he's in scoring position as Pacoda now goes to third.
Well, what happened there, I think Incaviglia took for granted maybe the speed of Pacoda. Wasn't really, didn't figure that Pacoda would do that. Hangs a breaking ball here that Boone gets out in front and down the line, and even though Incaviglia gets there pretty quick, gets the ball in, and Pacoda with his speed a little deceptive, and because of that, Boone able to go to second base.
Yeah, the mistake on that play, and that's why it was probably a little more glaring, is the fact that play's right in front of him, so he should have seen where Pacoda was, and he really didn't have a play there. And Boone is a guy you want to, not that he's going to score from second base automatically on a single, that's not true, but you keep him at first and you've got a chance for a double play to get out of the inning.
Also shows you just how important a lead at first base is. You get a good lead and a good jump, and just one step can make the difference. Pacoda getting that type of a jump and got to third.
Brian McRae, the hitter. The Rangers will play the infield back, so they will give up the run. Buechele is in at third, as he would be with any quick left-handed hitter. And actually Palmeiro at first is in, but the middlemen are back.
Yeah, basically what that is there, if the ball's hit to the corner man, they're going to go home, and that's why McRae in this particular bat has to think about something to the middle of the field or to the outfield.
That's the way they're set up. 1 ball and no strikes. First time up, he struck out. Pops it back into the crowd. It'll even the count. 1-1.
Here's a young man in Brian McRae that probably knows the fundamentals of baseball as well as anyone. His dad, Hal, that played with in '85, '86 in Kansas City. Real general to have around a club, real gentleman, and his son is pretty much out of the same mold. Outstanding speed as his dad had. Of course, Dad broke his leg one particular year and didn't have the speed, but both of them outstanding speed early in their career. Don't think that Brian's going to have quite the power that Hal had.
It's going to be tough for him to just be that good a hitter either. Hal was a fine hitter. He, of course, broke in with Cincinnati. They platooned him a little in left field with Bernie Carbo, and then Kansas City is where he had his big numbers as a regular. That pitch stays up. 2 balls and a strike, 3 balls and a strike make that, with runners at second and third. The runner at third is Pacoda. Boone has out at second. Pacoda led off the offense in this inning after Stillwell had popped out to the third baseman Buechele. Pacoda singled, went to third on Boone's double.
It becomes important to get both McRae and Seitzer here, just from the standpoint of trying to stay away from Brett. That's something that they've been able to do the whole series, is stay away from George Brett with men in scoring position. George 5 for 12 in this series with just 1 RBI. So with 1 out and second and third, really important to go after these 2 hitters.
Full count pitch. Just missed inside with a breaking ball, and they're loaded.
Yeah, the only way you can lay off of something like this is have an outstanding eye. Make sure that the umpire behind the plate's consistent.
Well, the Rangers could use a double play ball here. Of Of course, this will allow the men on the corner to back up just a little bit with one out.
And now with that walk, the double play ball becomes important to stay away from Brett.
Seitzer has grounded into 9 of them this season. First time up, he popped up.
I think there's one pitch that probably is that a pitcher has that is affected most by umpires, and that is a big curveball like Alexander has. A lot of umpires just don't have a good strike zone up and down with it. Normally they'll call the corners, no problem there, but a lot of them have trouble gauging the strike zone from the knees to whatever up the strike zone is.
There was the curve.
I've lost track of where the strike zone is upstairs. I don't know anymore. I mean, it changed and fluctuates so much depending on the hitter. It can be the belt buckle, and some it might be a little bit higher than that.
I saw a demonstration once where they had a cube basically that was in the shape of the strike zone with a particular hitter, and of course all the ball has to do is pass through any part of that. It's a strike. Here's the 0-2, and that's away. And that's the problem with a curveball. Curveball could theoretically just cut a real small portion of that. The catcher might end up having to lunge for it, but it was a strike. But it's hard for the umpire to call.
Umpires don't like to be showed up, and any catcher making big movements or dropping the ball will anger them quicker than anything.
1-ball-2-strike pitch, bases loaded. He jerked that one just a little bit, maybe tried to throw a little too hard. It's outside. It's 2-2.
Seitzer, one of those hitters out of the Kansas City mold that gets on that back line, kind of rubs it out. And think of Amos Otis and Hal McRae. When the game would start, they'd get down there and the first thing they would do was scratch that back line out so they could get back as far as they could.
Staying alive, and I hope the fans are. That one was a real shot. No one seems to be harmed. We got him loaded. Bill Pacoda at third base. Bob Boone at second. And Brian McRae at first. Count on the hitter is 2-balls-2 strikes. The hitter Kevin Seitzer. No score in the game. Just one out. Little looper on the infield. Well, that's the big out. In fact, that's an infield fly.
I don't think that's really what you wanted to see, because now what happens, you're forced to pitch to George Brett. You've got the bases loaded, and even though there's 2 outs, you've got to go to him. And this is a situation that George lives on.
I don't think there's any question what you really wanted was a double play, but I guess the alternative is a base hit or a walk, and that would have been worse. And now he's just got to get him, and Petrale goes out and says, now I know this is George Brett, but he puts his socks on one at a time and he makes outs. In fact, he made it out last time. He popped up to the third baseman Buechele. He just doesn't make as many as some other people. He's got 72 runs batted in, hitting just a tick under 322 as he steps in this time. Bases loaded, 2 outs, no score. The first pitch to Brett. Fastball low.
And if you're George Brett, your strike zone becomes a little smaller.
I think it's been pretty small both times he's been up, to be honest.
See Gino kind of react to that first pitch. He went middle of the plate, just keep it down. We'll see what happens. It looked like a good pitch, yet a ball.
Fastball base hit. Here comes one run. Boone is rounding third. The throw by Doherty is up the line. Boone is safe. And going into second base will be the hitter, Brett. Well, there's a situation where probably what hurt the Rangers as much as anything is the fact that to keep Doherty's bat in the lineup, he's in right field, and that is not his primary position. And the throw would have gotten Boone if it had been on target.
Yeah, any kind of a throw to the plate would have been able to really get out Bob Boone. Bob not with great speed. George Brett, great hitter in that position. And
you got to figure that, the outfielders that play regularly, like Sierra, who has a strong arm, he would have probably had Boone easily. But on the other hand, maybe they wouldn't have sent him. There's a high fly ball off the bat of Bo Jackson. Gary Pettis waits about 3.5 days, makes the catch, and that retires the side. Well, could have been worse with the bases loaded and only 1 out, but 2 runs score on the 2-run single by George Brett. There were 3 hits in the inning and a couple left. We'll be back with the bottom of the 3rd. Kansas City leads it 2-0. To you by your local Lennox dealer. When quality heating and air conditioning is a must, it must be a Lennox. Well, they've made a scoring change which really grumps up this catcher next to me, but I'd have to say I agree with him. They've given Petrali an error on not handling that throw from right field that allowed Brett to go to second base. It had nothing to do with the run scoring, but the fact that Brett ended up at second base.
Well, I can't stand that particular play because I had it happen several times to me in my career in this ballpark, and basically it's a poor throw up the line, and the only chance of getting the runner was to make a snap and then try to dive. It's a short hop is the other reason why it's a bad throw, and yet the catcher comes up on the short end of it. That irks me.
Steve Buechele hitting .222 with 6 homers and 26 RBIs, just 2 for his last 11. He's been in a deep slump. Was hidden. This is what can happen with a ball club, though. When your club is hitting well, as it has been most of this series, and winning a lot of games, you can kind of ride through it until he gets the bat going. It's when nobody's hitting and all of a sudden somebody starts pointing fingers.
I don't think I'm going to be able to talk for a couple innings. I'm mad.
You need to have a change. Well, you need to have a change in the rules of scoring, because it's the only. I mean, I know why they call it, because rules of scoring say you have to account for every base, and you can't. It doesn't qualify as a fielder's choice, although I think you could have probably squeezed it under the line on a fielder's choice as to why he got to second base. They allowed the ball to come through, but they have to account for every base. It's in the. Maybe it just needs another classification, another category. Buechele drives the ball to right, but Schultz will make the catch, and that's 1 away.
Well, too, I got added incentive. In fact, I had the best fielding percentage career-wise for a catcher, and it was on that particular play that I lost to Elston Howard, and I'm trying to think of the other catcher that's right in front of me by 1/1000th of a percentage point, something like that. But anyway,
well, it's like they always say. It's sometimes the guys that don't get to them end up having the bigger numbers. That ball is fouled away. No balls and a strike. There's a high pop. Short right field. Bill Pacoda. Boy, Andy McGaffigan is putting them down. Andy is not allowed a hit. There's 1 base runner, a walk to Franco in the first. They go to the top of the order. Gary Pettis, who struck out his first time. There's a guy with. We talked about the mask he uses. He uses a very small mask, and it looks like one of those softball umpires, the solid bar. You don't see as many catchers using those.
He's the only one, I think.
Is he the only one? Yeah, you see the wire mask, most people.
Right. He's got a very small glove. Of course, he's always will remind me, you've got to be really good and have good hands to use that small glove. I'm sure he'd probably catch Charlie Huff with that thing.
He'd try.
Well, he'd like to next year. I know this is a situation that has gotten on the outs with him. Of course, he's not going to sign back with Kansas City next year and is looking to play another year.
Yeah, they could end up together somewhere if things don't work out for either one of them. 2 balls and a strike. Pettis staying alive. Gary has taken the fact that the way it looks, the way the Rangers have played most of the last few days, that they'd sure like for Juan Gonzalez to show that defensively he can play center field, because his bat is certainly apparently ready for the majors. Gary has been philosophical about the whole thing. If if the Rangers want him, he'd be glad to be here. If they want to work out some kind of a deal, why, it's not going to set him off. The thing about Gary is he's a good defensive center fielder, and he does add that speed to the club, which is something that you have to kind of balance. But he's going to fly out here to Eisenreich. And it's another easy inning for McGaffigan. 1, 2, 3 in the third. And we'll go to the fourth. It's 2-0 Kansas City. Eisenreich will lead it off when we come back.
The fourth inning, and we have a moment. We'd like to take a quick look at some upcoming Astro games on HSE. The Giants come into the Astrodome on the 14th, 15th, and 16th, and might take a look. Those are all different times for those games. And then the 17th and 18th, the Padres invade Houston. So check your local listings for games in your area.
We go to the fourth with Jim Eisenreich, Jeff Schultz, and Kurt Stillwell, the first three hitters, due against Gerald Alexander. We have a couple of final football scores already. The first scores of the first weekend in the NFL as Eisenreich swings through it and misses. The Chicago Bears shut out Seattle in their opener 17-0. And Tampa Bay over Detroit 38-21. Silver stretch got stretched. Ball is fouled back. It is no balls and 2 strikes to Eisenreich. 289 hitter coming into play. Struck out his first time.
Fighting back from Tourette syndrome, Eisenreich has done a remarkable job. Player of the year last year with the Royals, and one of the finer hitters. A good fastball hitter. Pretty much typical of Minnesota Twins, where he came up in that organization. They have a lot of young hitters consistently throughout the years come up with big hitters. Tony Oliva, Rod Carew back in 60s and 70s, and of course Harvin Killebrew played there. But a number of young hitters. Lyman Bostock, who passed away a few years back, came up through that organization. Fine hitter.
When you're a good hitter, you sometimes get lucky. That's a base hit. Came out of the glove. I was about to say when you're a good hitter, you sometimes get lucky, and then I was going to change it to sometimes get rocked, and he got lucky again. The ball fell out. Nice effort for Kunkel, though. Did everything he could do except glue it in.
And the umpire has to wait to make sure that once he hits the ground, he still has the ball. He dives straight out for this, makes an outstanding catch of it, had it in the glove, but the impact on the ground popped the ball out. Jeff Kunkel showing you some excellent range and fine arm from being on his knees.
Fifth hit now for Kansas City as Jeff Schultz is up. Jeff bounced into a 3-6-1 double play his first time. Pitch out. Eisenreich has stolen 12 bases this year, but he's been thrown out 13 times. Another football final, another shutout. Washington 31, Phoenix nothing. There's the 1-0. That's slashed back into the crowd.
The Rangers have called a couple of pitch outs today, and manager John Wathen, being a catcher himself, keeps a little book on that. Anytime he calls a pitch out, along with the fact that opposing managers do the same thing, he'll jot it down in a little book just to kind of remind himself the count and the hitter and who is on first, to kind of prepare for the next time.
On the outside corner for a strike. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Take a look.
Interesting, the eye black that Schultz has on today. There's a couple different ways of putting it on. In fact, there's 3 ways. One, you get a cork and you burn it, and you can put it on that way, or you get a strip like he has. They have these little black strips that stick.
There's a base hit to left. Incaviglia comes up quickly to hold the runners at first and second. Schultz just slashes it to left. The 6th hit. It'll bring up the shortstop Kurt Stillwell.
And so you've got the stick-on little strips that he has, and of course then they have some ointment gook that you can put on. But that's the safest right there. That doesn't get all messy and all over your face from a day of sweating, and you rub the towel on your face, and before long it looks like you've dove head first into second. But that's pretty clean way of trying to keep the glare out.
Stillwell popped up to the third baseman Buechele in foul territory, leading off the third. And then that was followed by successive hits by Pacoda and Boone. So Alexander is facing some hitters here who have seen him before, and a couple have been successful. Squaring around, a bunt doesn't go. Petrale throws through, and he got him. Caught an arm by Gino Petrale. Goodbye, Jim Eisenreich. Jim, we'll see this again, but I think Gino Petrale has improved his arm strength about as much as I've seen over a couple of years.
A couple of things working here. Outstanding fundamentals right now. He has admitted that he feels as if he's throwing the ball as well now as he ever has. And I think this is the first pickoff at second base that he has had as a Ranger. And I don't have that particular stat in front of me. The second.
I think it's the second. Did not he have one in one of our earlier home games, which was the first one since you did it?
Well, that might
be
it's one or two.
I think that's correct.
And that's a real test exactly just how well he's throwing the ball right now.
And it's a big one because it saves a run. A base hit up the middle by Stillwell. 3 successive hits, but an out.
And it may be time to really look at making a change here. The last couple of innings, Gerald has had some problems.
Not getting much of a sharp break on any breaking balls. His fastball is being timed. Jeffcoat and McMurtry in the pen.
I think the location of his breaking ball just has not been real consistent with it. Fastball not getting it to the spots that he wants to.
He'll be facing Pacoda, who singled and scored the first run.
Now the other thought too Bobby Valentine may be thinking about is you've only got a 2-run game right now. The team is scoring a bunch of runs. We've got a young pitcher that's had an outstanding minor league season, and I want to just stay with him, maybe give him a couple of more hitters. Offense has been tough and maybe deserves the shot. Might try to get himself out of it.
Double play would do wonders. There's a strike. 1-1.
The one thing too about taking a pitcher out in the middle of the game, or early in the game should say, here in the 4th inning, anytime you're in the middle 3 innings, 4th, 5th, maybe the 6th, is that a pitcher can right himself a lot of times. He can kind of get through a particular tough inning or two, and all of a sudden he finds his rhythm again and he's off and pitching well for 2 or 3 more innings.
That one's down. Looking back in the scorebook, I believe it was the game against the Twins back on the 26th of August that Petrale also picked a man off second. He also threw out a couple, and that was the first time it had been done since you did it. I don't have the year down here when you did it, but hadn't happened much. Now he's done it twice. There's a strike. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
A lot of times in picking a runner off second base, you go on surprise, and the best time is in a bunt situation when a hitter bunts through the pitch, and all of a sudden you catch the base runner at second base trying to get a jump to third, and he's leaning towards third. Then you pick him off very easily.
2-2 half swing. That was a cheap hit, but it was a hit. Coming in with it is Doherty. Doherty will make a throw to the plate. It's up the line, and this time again he's safe. Same problem. The throw is up the line. It would have been the same result. That's twice that the Rangers probably should have had the man at home plate, but the throw has been up the line. And again, not to blame Jack. He's not really an outfielder by trade, and how many times he had to make that throw all season? Not a whole lot.
It'll be interesting to see what they call here, because he had the ball in his glove and went for the tag. The base runner missed home plate and had to come back and get the base. Here Jack Doherty making another throw up the third base line. But Petrale, this one in the air, and this one probably will have to go for an error. And I would almost agree with that one if they do. You see, Gino had him, dropped the ball, and now he touches the base.
And Bobby Valentine is out to the mound. And we will have a change. Craig McMurtry will come in. And while he is coming in and getting his warm-ups, that means we have a break in the action. And this break is being brought to you by Owen's Country Sausage, the best of farm and family since 1928. Owen's biscuits are a great breakfast or snack any time of the day. Let's take an Owen's biscuit break. Mercury in his last outing against Oakland, 4 1/3 innings, 2 hits, no runs, so he pitched very well.
And he's not allowed an earned run in his last 9 2/3 innings over 3 appearances, and just making his 6th appearance in 49 days. So Bobby Valentine has not used Greg that much, but yet has had some outings in long relief where he's been very effective.
Here's the play at the plate again.
Now watch, the throw gets to Gino all the way in the air, and he has the ball. He'll have the ball. You see the runner going to the inside. Very smart move, base running move. There's the ball in the glove. Doesn't really have a hold of it, but it's in the glove. Makes the tag on the shoulder and drops the ball. And now the runner going, Boone's going, get back, get to the base, and there's the score.
Ironically, no error on the board, which means at this moment it is an earned run, and there was no error charged.
See, and I'm just the reverse of the way the scorekeeping has been today. I would have think the first one would not be, and yet that one would.
Well, Bob Boone will be the hitter. 4 successive hits. There is 1 out thanks to the pickoff throw, and we researched that, or John Alexander did, or John Anthony did, and that actually was back on the 18th of August as Scott Fletcher was picked off second base. So it's the 2nd time he's done it this year, and the first 2 times since Jim Sundberg was behind the plate with the Rangers. There's a strike. No balls and a strike to Boone, who doubled and scored in the 3rd. Runners at 2nd and 3rd. Stillwell is at 3rd. Pacoda is at 2nd. 3-0 the score.
Bob Boone, very tough with men in scoring position. Always has been. His whole career been that type of a player.
Slaps it, but the infield's in, so he ain't going to get anybody in this time. Franco makes the play at first, 2 down. This is where being a slap hitter like he is sometimes can work against you when the infield's in, because you don't always hit it as hard as you need to get it through. And that's what happened that time. Well, we'll bring up the top of the order in McRae. Been on base once, got as far as 3rd. Struck out the first time.
And taking a little bit of advice from his dad, for a young player, Brian keeps a little book, goes in after a ball game and makes a few notations about the pitchers, what they threw, what they got him out on, what he hit, the count, the pitcher, the catcher. A lot of those things you put down to try to recall the number of games that you play in a year's period of time. Sometimes you can't recall everything. Andre Dawson with the Cubs, and Vance Law used to play with the Cubs now in Japan, would do the same thing. And Scott Fletcher was another one with the Rangers last year, now with the White Sox. Keep a book. And I did also myself the last, always did as a game caller behind the plate, but more so the last few years as a hitter.
That's because the memory started to go and you had to start writing it down. Right?
Thank you very much. It's going to be terrible. I mean, at the age of 39, it's starting to go. I don't know what it's going to be like when I'm 50 or 60.
Do you remember Ricky Henderson?
Who?
I was prompted.
Not you too.
I was no, I was prompted on that.
From the truck, huh?
Yes, I was. I got it.
Okay. All right.
1 ball and 2 strikes.
That'd be the last time I use any of their good stuff and give them credit for it.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Seitzer is the next hitter, but Mercury doesn't want him to get that far. Just got a piece. Rangers don't have a hit. They have gone through the order 2 1/9 times. Pettis, or 1 1/9 times. Pettis, the only hitter that's hit twice. 1 base runner. That does it. McRae, a strikeout victim. McMurtry comes in and gets the job done with runners at 2nd and 3rd and 1 out. He is a sparkler. He gets an infield ground out and a strikeout. No more runs score. It's 3-0 as the Rangers come to bat in the 4th. Meat of the order, second look at McGaffigan. Maybe this time. I'm here with baseball superstitions. Some ball players believe wearing the same pair of dirty socks can keep a hitting streak alive. Some fans believe eating a Decker dog while your favorite player's at bat will help him hit safely. And what do the statistics say? Stay tuned. Decker, the choice of experts. Rangers can use some hits. They don't have any. Julio Franco leads it off here in the 4th. Rangers are 4 for 38. In the last 2 games, that's over 12 innings. Throw Franco out, they're 1 for 34. Don't throw him out. There's a strike. Let's see. That means if you follow the superstition, his fans are eating well. He had 3 hits last night, and he's been on base here. 2 balls and a strike. A couple of other scores. Final in the NFL. Kansas City 24, Minnesota 21. Dallas leading San Diego with 10:32 left in the first, 7-0 on a Dennis McKinnon pass reception from Troy Aikman, 28 yards. Keep you posted on partials involving the 3 teams in our viewing audience, Houston, Dallas, and New Orleans. If their games are available, New Orleans won't be. It's night game tomorrow. 3 balls and a strike. Fouled back, out of play. Three balls and 2 strikes. Palmeiro will be followed. Will follow next in the order with Sierra after that. Through the hole, base hit. Julio is red hot, and the Rangers have a hit. Well, he did that last night. He got it started, getting the first hit.
We talked about him hitting the number 2 spot. Actually, a lot of times when you look back over the last several months, with him hitting at number 2 spots, a lot of times he's led off the inning, or he has been the one leading the inning off with an out, getting ready to get into the meat of the lineup with Palmeiro, Sierra.
Palmeiro flied to left his first time. Franco stole second his first time, so McGaffigan's going to keep an eye on him.
I think the option that Bobby Valentine has here with Franco at first and Palmeiro up is you can always use what you would call the run and hit. You can send Franco in an attempt to steal a base, but if the pitch is thrown in a pretty good spot to hit, then you let Palmeiro go ahead and swing away at it. A lot of times it looks like a hit and run. You call it a run and hit.
The option is the hitters. That's fouled back. Actually, they probably ought to call that run and hit
Julio
option.
Run?
No, run and hit option. That's really what it is, because the hitter has the choice. He can go for it or not.
Make it a part of a first grade reader. Run, Julio, run. See Julio run.
We'll see if he will. 1 ball and 1 strike. Of course, the Royals would like Rafi to hit one on the ground for 2. Going to lay off those pitches. 2 balls and a strike. McGaffigan's been with Montreal, New York, San Francisco, the Reds. Actually, Montreal twice. Now the Royals.
What a nice gentleman. I had a nice talk with him before the game, and really has a great attitude.
2-1. That's out of play.
Said the 2 weeks he was sitting at home after being released by the Giants, had time to spend with his family and reflect on a few things. Faxed out to every club except a couple that he was wanting to play and willing to play, and there were 4 teams that responded, and basically it centered down to the Kansas City Royals. And with the problems they had with their staff, he has been allowed the opportunity to start and coming through with him in good fashion.
Well, last year with Montreal was the only year that he really has had a high earned run average, even though he has always been he's been in a lot of games, but he's not always pitched a lot of innings. The most innings he has pitched was with Montreal in '86. He was used as a starter much of that year. He pitched 142 plus. 10-5 with a 2.65. He followed that up with a 2.39. Pitch was high, and that's what happened. He skies it. Coming in for it quickly is Schultz, and he goes all the way in and makes the catch. That's out number 1. He's been traded for people like Doyle Alexander. He was involved to complete the deal in which the Giants acquired Al Oliver for Fred Brining and Max Venable. That was back in '84. He was involved in a Dan Dreesen trade. Bill Gullickson was involved in a deal that he was part of. He's been popular enough to be traded a lot. Sierra fly deep to left field. In fact, excellent catch by Eisenreich against the wall that kept the Rangers off the scoreboard in the first. After Franco had walked and stolen second, Palmeiro flied out, and then Sierra hit one deep to the wall. You know, baseball can sometimes be a subtle game. Little things can make a big difference. And we'll just take a look at the scoreboard right now. It's 3-0, but you could say it ought to be 1-0, because 2 of the runs that scored would have either not tried to score with a different right fielder or would have been thrown out because they really were dead at the plate. They didn't, but they made it. High pop up. That should be back out of play. Saw the temperature 81 degrees, up a few degrees from game time. And our crowd on this Sunday afternoon at Arlington, actually, to pick an afternoon, this was the one with the nice temperatures. San Diego was tied Dallas 7-7 on a Craig McEwen 14-yard pass from Mark Vlasic. That's Vlasic as in the pickle. 7-7 with 4:30 left in the first.
You know, I sit here and I look at Sierra, and after watching Gonzalez the last few nights, it reminds me back when Sierra broke in with the Rangers, and that was against Kansas City. When I was playing with Kansas City, Ruben came into a ball game, and that was the end of the '86 season. Hit a home run, I believe, and a double off the wall in his first game, and began to show the makings of a fine career at that point in time, much like Gonzalez has done for the Rangers here on this homestand. It really broke out after a little slump in opening up with the team in Oakland.
Franco put on a nice little move as though he was going, and of course the pitch out was coming, but Boone thought he was for a long time.
Well, Julio's been trying to time McGaffigan here a couple of times, just missing the timing of it, jumping out, and if McGaffigan had seen that happen, could have picked off Julio. If McGaffigan's timing would have been just right, he'd have had Julio nailed a couple of times. But you'll see base runners anticipate the delivery to the plate that a pitcher has and will make a jump, and then if they don't deliver to the plate, you'll see him try to scurry back. Julio has done that twice in this particular series of pitches.
You saw George Brett over at first. George has to love first base a lot more than left field. Not because of the way you play it, but so many more people to talk to.
George just loves playing. I mean, he says, you know, I really have a lot of pressure to play well. He says, because I have 3 brothers that call me up and tell me how much I stink if I don't play well. He said, you ought to try to play with that kind of pressure. And George, I think a lot of players that I've played with, he enjoys baseball as much as anybody. I think that's too a key of having a long career as Sierra goes down on strikes, is the fact that you continue to enjoy the game no matter what happens.
This is still the spot that you get him so much that high and away pitch.
That out of the strike zone pitch. That's something
that's the one.
He gets himself out with.
Here's Doherty. Has that changed at all? You mentioned when you remember when he came up in '86, you're trying to figure out how to pitch him early, but was that the book you got pretty soon after you'd seen him a few times, that you pick your spots, but that's the one to go to?
It really is. In fact, the last two nights, today and last night, they really have not given him much to hit. You look back at the series that the Rangers had in Kansas City a few weeks ago, and Kansas City did not give Sierra much to hit at all. It really got himself out, and that's what's happened the last two nights. Sierra's whole thing is really, swinging at strikes. Now, he's one guy that could stand to walk a few more times. We talked earlier about the Baltimore two hitting third and fourth, Tillington and Milligan walking so much. Sierra could stand to walk just a few more times, to plant the thought in the opposing pitcher's mind that you're going to have to get the ball around the strike zone a little bit more for me to hit it.
Well, there's circumstances too. You want the guy to be a swinger in an RBI situation, but you're right. If he's not in an RBI situation, he'd be wise to be a little more selective. That pitch is up to Doherty, and it's now 2 balls and a strike to Jack, who hit a soft liner to second baseman Pacoda in the second. You kind of want to expand the strike zone just a little bit, but not to the point where you can't hit it when you're in an RBI situation. But unless you hit a home run here, this is not an RBI situation. This is an extra base.
And this could be a count that Bobby Valentine will send Franco.
He's poised, and there he goes. And there's a drive to deep right field. Back to the wall. Doherty has got them all. Jack Doherty with a 2-run homer, his 38th and 39th run batted in. And the Rangers climb back within a run. It's Kansas City 3, Texas 2. Pete Incaviglia will be Bobby Valentine's next hitter. Pete bounced out to the second baseman his first time up.
Jack picked a pretty good time to hit the home run. The wind has died down compared to what it was earlier. It's also started to blow straight in. We had the right field to left field action earlier, but this one Jack gets out in front of, tries to hit it to the right side, got the head on the ball, and you can see the wind blowing straight in now versus that left or right to left field earlier.
Well, he just wiped out those 2 runs that he maybe should have been able to throw out at the plate. He just got them back.
Yeah.
And it's a 1-run game.
I think of the number of left-handed hitters that have been able to hit balls out of right field in this ballpark through the years. Of course, much easier today than it used to be. You got the partition in center field that knocks down a lot of that wind. But the Kansas City Royals have a hitting instructor here with them that wore out right field probably as much as anybody. You see that big partition with all the advertisement across the outfield, and right offhand I'm trying to think how tall that fence is, maybe 40 feet. And that,
I bet it's higher. The top of that, I bet it's higher than that. That's pretty tall. Well, Inky's going to be retired. He hit it well enough, but that's the 3rd out. I know if you stand out behind it, it looks like it's a long way up. We will be back with the 5th inning through 4. It is now the Royals 3, but the Rangers coming back, trail by 1. 3-2 through 4.
So, did you break him, Rod?
Break him? I own him. That horse and I are one. We achieved a special kind of oneness. Man and beast. Speaking the same language.
What's that mean? Means they'll be talking again tomorrow.
Some people think he's a Superman, but when a 43-year-old has to throw 75 fastballs, even Nolan Ryan's muscles can ache. So after the game, it's the medicine doctors recommend most for sprains and strains, Advil.
For me, it's a couple of Advil, and those muscle aches are long gone. And Advil's gentler on my stomach than aspirin.
Today, it isn't aspirin or Tylenol. It's Advil.
I feel ready to go another 9 innings.
Advil, tablets and caplets, advanced medicine for pain.
I love what you do for me, Toyota. I love how you set me free. I love it. I said I love it.
If you've got the will, Toyota is the way.
I love what you do for me, Toyota.
As we move to the 5th and we have a moment, we'd like to remind you that this telecast is authorized under rights granted to Home Sports Entertainment and is intended solely for the non-commercial use of our viewing audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of Home Sports Entertainment is prohibited. Announcers for this telecast are selected and employed by Home Sports Entertainment.
We get set. This will be Kevin Seitzer leading off. The man who is the hitting guru is right there, John Mayberry.
And that's one of the left-handed hitters I was talking about that before this partition was up could wear this field out.
Seitzer drops one into short right field for a base hit. First hit off McMurtry. Another final in the NFL. Green Bay 36, the Los Angeles Rams 24.
And over the years, I think of left-handed hitters, Mayberry, Reggie Jackson. They are the two big left-handed hitters that, with the wind blowing straight in from center field and right field, and very difficult place to hit home runs at Arlington Stadium, they would turn the wind around. But John Mayberry, now the hitting instructor with the Kansas City Royals, I think always has good feelings about this ballpark.
Green Bay game. Anthony Dilweg passed for 3 touchdowns. Majikowski, who? Fame can be fleeting if someone comes in and wins your job. George Brett singled and drove in 2 in the 3rd. Trying to compute how high the billboards are, and the wall, just the regular blue wall, in play wall, that's 11 feet. So 5 times that high, at least.
Yeah, I think 40 feet total, huh?
You're stuck on 40 feet.
Yeah, I've got it in my
if
mind.
That's 11. No, I'm saying if the fence is 11 feet, just put 4 of those up, and you're still not up to the top. Meanwhile, we almost had a pickoff. In fact, Palmeiro thought he had one. Let's take a look.
Seitzer really stumbled with his right ankle there, not too far off the base. Saw his ankle turn and just about got picked off. You know, there's a guy in this Royal lineup right now that you go through in a series and you think, hey, you don't want him to beat you. And this is George Brett right here. They got in a situation his last time up where they couldn't pitch around him, bases loaded, and he provided a couple of runs of the 3 that they have. I remember back to the '85 playoffs when the Royals played the Blue Jays, and George had a tremendous series and was MVP for that playoff series. Bobby Cox, then the manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, said that our mistake was letting Brett beat us. We went into that series thinking we wanted to stay away from it, and yet George was the one that put us away.
This was the second one.
Just back. Now there's a good lead. That's the lead we were talking about earlier when Jackson was on base. He's going to be able to dive back just in front of the ball.
Now, if you're wondering about Seitzer, is he a big base stealer? No, he stole him 7 out of 12 this year. But he appears, as Jim indicates, at least he knows how to get a lead. Two balls and no strikes. We've got a 3-2 game. The Royals lead the Rangers. We're in the top of the 5th with nobody out and 1 on. Goodbye, maybe to the wall. It is out of here. George Brett with a 2-run homer. His 11th of the year, 73rd, and let's see, now 74 RBIs in this game, or 4 RBIs in this game, 76 for the year. He has that swing in a groove.
Well, his power is up in the strike zone. Anytime you throw him a fastball up, that's where he's going to get his long ball. He normally sprays the ball down. You'll see him have great plate coverage up and down in the strike zone, but he'll flare the balls to left field that are down, and when you throw him one up, he gets pretty good distance on it. You can see right here, this ball up in the strike zone and inside park, dangerous.
That was just waiting to be hit, wasn't it? Well, it's 5-2. Bo Jackson with the 0-1 count. Chops it to the shortstop. Kunkel comes in with a one hand. Wow.
Well, they've kept Brett from hurting him the whole series. Basically, nobody really has been on base hardly in front of him. He's had just 1 RBI coming into this game, but he had been 5 for 11 entering this particular afternoon contest. And George can hurt you in a second, and he has been very hot and making an extreme run toward that 3rd batting championship, and the first one to be a champion in 3 different decades.
Home run was his 30th against the Rangers in his career, which ties him with Don Baylor for 2nd place. Reggie Jackson hit 45 against Texas. Jim Eisenreich 1 for 2. 2 balls and a strike. Eisenreich singled and struck out. Was picked off second base after the single in the 4th by catcher Gino Petralli. 5 runs, 10 hits, no errors for the Royals. 2-2-1 for the Rangers. Foul below us.
They're hitting a little more like today. Or I should say today, like we saw the last time the Rangers were in Kansas City. At that point in time, everybody in the lineup except for a couple of guys were hot, almost like the Rangers are this series.
Palmeiro short hops it, makes a nice play, tags the bag for out number 2. McMurtry will next work on Jeff Schultz as Bobby Valentine paces a bit. He's had some action down in the bullpen for a while, and Jeff Coates been tossing.
I'm sure he's not very happy with probably the pitch to George Brett. You think of a ball in an area where he can hurt you. That's exactly where the pitch was thrown. You got to be very careful in a ball game where by chance you're in it, even though you were down 3-0 at one time, you get yourself back in with a couple of runs and a chance to sweep the Royals. You don't want the type of guy that can hurt you beat you like that.
Fastball on the outside corner. 1 ball and 1 strike. One and 2. If you missed the news, Kevin Brown will not accompany the Rangers on their road trip. He'll have some more examinations this week. The magnetic resonance imaging test was all right. In other words, they have not found any loose bodies in his elbow.
I'm afraid to try to say that.
I had to say it very slow. I have trouble with statistics. It is a strikeout. That takes care of Schultz. And we will go to the bottom of the 5th. 2 runs on the 2-run homer by George Brett. Rangers coming up, needing some more. Petralli leads it off with Buechele and Kunkel to follow. Time for today's trivia quiz, brought to you by Merle Harmon's Fanfare. The first correct caller will receive a gift certificate from Merle Harmon's Fanfare, the sports fans gift shop. Here is the question. What Major League manager was also the first person to ever bat for the Royals? It happened in 1969. 817-277-0779 or 277-0004. If you have the correct answer, you'll receive the gift certificate, but you got to be the first person with the correct answer, so give us a call.
Is it somebody in that dugout? What you know.
Or is it not? Who knows? The magic trivia person does. And we already have a winner, so it was more than just the magic trivia person who knew the answer to that. So
those people must get on the phone knowing that they can time the question, and as soon as the question comes out, they know it.
Well, they got to know the answer first, but they do. Here's Gino Petrali. Petrali popped up his first time. Two balls and a strike.
Yeah,
and it's 3-1.
One person that may come down with strep throat is Dan Morrison, the home plate umpire. Working so close with Gino,
he probably told him, don't turn around the question any
Don't
calls.
you argue, get in my face and slobber on me.
And Petrali draws the walk. Well, that's the way to start the comeback. Well, we have an update on the Houston-Atlanta game, and it is just as some suspected. Atlanta, with the juiced-up Falcons of Jerry Glanville, has jumped out in front, 14-0 in the first quarter, recovering a fumble in the end zone, and then 21-0, returning a fumble 65 yards. I don't know how much this Atlanta's doing. It sounds like the Oilers are, as you say, getting themselves out a little bit, to use a baseball analogy. Here is Steve Buechele. There's a strike. Buechele flied to right his first time. Well, there it is. Finally on the scoreboard, 1-1. They were waiting because the home plate umpire, Dan Morrison, looked like he was giving it one of those long looks. But it was inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Buechele can't catch that one, and it's 1-2. McGaffigan has always had pretty good control as far as the strikeout to walk ratio throughout his career. There's a liner. Will it drop? Yeah, base hit for Buechele. Going into second base safely is Petrali. And the Rangers have the first 2 runners on here in the 5th. Just the 3rd hit for Texas, but they have all come over the last 2 innings.
And a characteristic they continue to show about coming back. Buechele getting a ball basically middle of the plate. Boone set up outside. Ball down the middle. And he hits it up the middle.
Rangers trailing by 3 with Kunkel the hitter. He popped out to the second baseman Pacoda in the 3rd inning. The Royal infield is close enough on the corners just in case the Rangers would try to put 2 people in scoring position. Up the middle, they're playing for 2. And there's the bunt. It's a hard bunt. However, the throw will go to 3rd, and they got him. George Brett making the play. The bunt was too hard to George. And Petrali is gunned down at 3rd. Kunkel replaces him on the bases. He'll be at 1st.
This is really the toughest situation to bunt in. The bunt has to be really perfect when you got the infielders coming down your throat. Brett getting a good jump from 1st, and the shot to Seitzer. It'll play on where Seitzer hangs at 3rd base. Pitcher covers the 3rd base side. First baseman comes in, and you've got everything covered.
That'll go to the top of the order, Gary Pettis. Pettis has struck out and flied out. Now here's a situation that wouldn't be a bad idea. You know, you've got basically, because there's a runner ahead at second base, the runner at first base is not being held. That's Kunkel. Pettis has great speed. Wouldn't be a bad time to pull a drag bunt for a base hit. Load him up. He's going to try to swing through and get the bases moving, though. 1 ball and 1 strike.
I think they'd really like to have Gary do a little more bunting with the outstanding speed that he has. He really doesn't do enough of that.
And it's like when the Rangers still had Harold Baines and the White Sox had that big shift on him. He always said there were certain circumstances, maybe not in RBI situations, but other circumstances where make him pay for it. Your chances of getting on base safely doing that are a lot higher than in Harold's case, for instance, hitting a home run on a given at bat. Same thing here with Gary Pettis, but 2 balls and a strike, and now it's 2-2, and it's no doubt a moot point. Five to 2 is the score if you've just flipped us on. Rangers are trailing, but the Rangers have runners at first and second and 1 out here in the 5th. Gary Pettis, the hitter, with a 2-2 count. And it's the status quo.
It could be a difficult situation for Gary from the standpoint that he hadn't played for a few days, and you spend the time off. You're a player that is used to playing regularly, and all of a sudden you sit the bench for 3 games. Tough to get your timing.
Steve Crawford throwing in the KC bullpen if needed, but the way McGaffigan just got Pettis, he might not be needed. 2 down. That's the second time Pettis has struck out today, and that sinker,
that palm ball, outstanding palm ball, and again out of the strike zone. See the side angle there, that below the knees.
Well, Franco has been the bright spot. He has walked, stolen second, singled, and scored in his 2 at-bats. Franco's up that average right around 303. That pitch is upstairs for a ball.
And normally not a lot of opportunities in number 2 spot to drive in runs from the standpoint that the number 9 hitter, number 1 hitter usually struggling, not having a high average, so you don't usually have the opportunities. Here's one of those times.
And he's got a hitter's count. 2 balls and no strikes. Crawford down in the Royal bullpen behind McGaffigan, not really throwing much. He's doing a lot of standing, which would indicate that he's thrown enough.
McGaffigan looks as if probably tiring a little bit. Crawford already getting his throws in, waiting for John Wathan to make a decision. McGaffigan wanting to really get to Franco right here, does not want to have to face Palmeiro, so probably a good situation for Julio to hit in. Probably get a good pitch here.
Chops it on the grounds. Not in time. They throw it away. The Rangers will have the bases loaded. That was Stillwell, really. He backed up on it, took a lot of time, and then by the time he threw it to Pacoda, Kunkel was right on him.
The pitch, it really was off the inside part of the plate. Julio knew it right away. He was mad that he swung at it. A little flip, and because of the way base runner was going into second, Pacoda a little shy of the throw.
They called the error, I believe, on Stillwell. They did, because the throw was not right there, and he made it tougher for Pacoda anyway because he made the play so tight. Now the Rangers have the bases loaded and 2 outs, and Palmeiro the hitter. Maybe that's the break the Rangers are looking for. Ball 1. Rangers would take 4 unearned runs here, wouldn't they?
Take them anyway. They have basically been earning them, but there's always those games that you'll take any help you can get.
2 balls and no strikes. The bases are full with Buechele at third, Jeff Kunkel at second, and Julio Franco at first. Two ball, no strike pitch to Palmeiro. Rangers trail by 3. In the gap. Will it stay up? No! 1 run scores. Kunkel scores. Franco scores. The ball game is tied, and Sierra will be the next hitter with Palmeiro at second base. Mean a lot in baseball, and those runs were unearned because the third out would have been recorded on that fielder's choice at second base.
Jim Eisenreich knew how important it was, and he thought it was worth taking a shot at. Figured McRae would be behind him to back up, just out of his reach by a few inches. But that situation, making the right, in my decision, the right move to go ahead, dive for the ball because of the score of the game, and just out of his hand.
Now we're going to have Crawford coming into the game, and what we've already seen in this game, Jim, is just why guys like George Brett and Rafael Palmeiro among the top hitters in the American League. Not only are their averages there, they're coming through in the clutch. For Palmeiro now, that's 81 runs batted in on his second consecutive big double in as many days.
Just an outstanding year. Really, Rafael has dispelled a lot of the doubts that Rangers and probably the Cubs had. The reason the Cubs traded him to Texas because they felt as if that his second half performances were not up to par, and wondering whether he'd really be able to put a full season together. But Rafael has showed this season that is all behind him. His maturity, the work habits in the offseason, everything that he has done to prepare himself for this year has been paying off.
You notice too that the other key player in that trade, Mitch Williams, he's disgruntled now, and he's making noises like he wouldn't mind leaving Chicago, so you never know. Be sure to come out to the park on Friday, September 14th, as the Rangers face the Milwaukee Brewers. All fans with a paid admission will receive a Nolan Ryan 300 win commemorative poster. It is sponsored by HSE, and it's something every Nolan Ryan fan will want to have. That's Friday, September 14th. And he, by the way, is scheduled to pitch that day, so if that's not enough, come on out for sure. Well, Crawford now into the game. He has taken the warm-up pitches. For Crawford, this will be his 41st appearance. He's 5-4 with a 3.30 earned run average, 71 innings, 68 hits. There you see the numbers now on the screen.
Basically, John Wathan having really just a 4-man rotation for most of this series, except they've added Chris Cataroli to this bullpen today. Cataroli was going to start, but has moved out. They brought new young pitcher up. And so now John Wathan working with a few more men out of the bullpen. Crawford getting the work here. Pretty good sinker, slider type of pitcher, and a pitcher the Rangers had a chance to get out of spring training. He was released by Minnesota, and there was some talk in spring that maybe Rangers might pick up Crawford, but did not. Royals went ahead and acted on it. He has fit into their plans.
He appeared in the first game of this series. In fact, he relieved Cataroli. Gave up 2 earned runs in 3 1/3 innings. Rangers won that one 12-1. No balls and 2 strikes. Stays outside. It's 1-2. Rangers getting all 3 runs after 2 outs. A big error on a fielder's choice that was dropped. Actually wasn't dropped. It was ruled a wild throw by the shortstop Stillwell to Pacoda at second base. Stillwell charged with the error, and the Rangers then scoring. That would have been the 3rd out. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
And key to Crawford really is his fastball. He's got real good control with the fastball, works it in and out, good movement, and then throws that changeup we saw in the last pitch. There again.
Got Sierra way out in front of the ball. He's retired on a 4-3 putout from Pacoda, but the Rangers score 3. They had just 2 hits, the big 3-run double by Palmeiro and a single by Buechele, and this game is tied at 5 as we go to the 6th. Time now to take a look at the winner of our trivia question. What Major League manager was the first person to ever bat for the Royals? The answer, Lou Piniella. The winner, David Kruger of Denton. He had the correct answer, the first person with the correct answer. So he'll win a gift certificate good at any Merle Harmon's Fanfare coast to coast. Merle Harmon's Fanfare, the sports fans gift shop. Kurt Stillwell leads off in the 6th against McMurtry. We're all in a new ball game now, 5-5.
I think he had that answer before we asked it. Asked the question as fast as he got it.
That pitch is down. 2 balls and no strikes. Gerald Alexander started the game for the Rangers, went 3 1/3 innings, gave up 8 hits, 3 runs, all earned. McMurtry has gone an inning and 2/3. He's given up 2 runs on the 2-run homer by George Brett. Now he's down on a count 3-0 to Stillwell. Situation like this, it's 3-0. You got a veteran pitcher. The catcher goes out. We don't know exactly what he's saying, but let's suppose. What do you think?
Well, I'm sure he's saying that, look, you got a chance to win this ball game. Here the club has fought back a couple of times. We come back and tied at the last inning. You want to come right out here and throw strikes, get this first batter out. You're going to be gone before too long. Bobby's not going to stay around with you for very long if you start walking guys. Now throw the ball down in there. Babe Ruth's dead.
They still use that line, huh? A lot.
Every once in a while.
3 balls and a strike. Stillwell fouls it back into the crowd. There's a game within a game when you come to the ballpark. The game on the field and the game in the stands for foul balls.
There's really the game on the field all happens between home plate and pitcher's mound. I mean, there's some kind of partial to that. That's really, if you're into that, you don't get bored of the game at all.
And then you have a game that is part of both, and Steve Buechele goes into the stands and makes the catch.
There's a play that similar play that Boo had yesterday. This time, ball not quite as deep, and able to handle that scoreboard right there. A few fans trying to give him a little bit of a help. I think they wanted the ball more than he did.
I think they did. Here's Bill Pecota. Bill has singled twice. And he takes it up and away. Pleasant afternoon. 81 degrees. It's been overcast all day. It has been just comfortable. And you're taking your chances when you have afternoon games in Arlington in the middle of the summer. And we're still summer here, but it's been great. 1 ball and 1 strike.
That little trip to the mound that Petrale made might have been the best thing McMurtry had. I mean, who knows if he'd have walked Stillwell, that might have been it for Mac, and therefore taking away the chance of winning a ball game.
Well, it's the same old thing. It's a lot tougher to get a base hit than it is for a pitcher to get a guy out. Statistics show that. But sometimes you forget, I guess. Here's a 2-2. That's still 2 balls and 2 strikes.
And the other side, too, is that hitters probably get themselves out even a few more times. Pitchers make good pitches, but, you know, I think sometimes the concentration level of hitters dissipates sometimes during the course of the game because of the score. Score not as tight. Pecota down for the 2nd out of the inning.
That's McMurtry's 2nd strikeout.
It's a curveball that Mac is known for. Nice sharp late breaker.
Make that his 3rd strikeout. Last out of the 4th inning was a strikeout of McRae. There's Boone. Boone has doubled and grounded to 2nd. He was the first batter that McMurtry faced. McMurtry came on in the 4th inning after the first 4 batters had hit safely. One of them, however, had been picked off second base by Petrale. That was Eisenreich. McMurtry got Boone to ground out and struck out McRae with runners at 2nd and 3rd. There was a defensive slap swing. Little underhanded flip, and that takes care of the Royals in the top of the 6th. 1, 2, 3. Bottom of the 6th. We're tied at 5 with Doherty, Incaviglia, and Petrale leading off. Jack hit a 2-run homer his last time up. Bottom of the 6th inning. Dot race time at Arlington. They are in the post as Craig McMurtry watches. Here they go. There was an inquiry last night because Red was suspected of being on something with a stretch run. About that. That looked like a little double team job that sprung Green. Looked like they set a screen for Green. Well, you never know in the world of dot racing. Jack Doherty last time up. Rangers trailing 3-0. After this, they were trailing 3-2. His 5th home run of the year. And he'll lead off against Crawford, his first at-bat against Crawford in the game.
Bobby Valentine has really gone to using Jack here, mainly from the standpoint he has really caught fire. You know, take a look at the middle of this Ranger lineup. Franco, along with Palmeiro and Doherty with 4 RBIs against the Royals this series. Sierra 5, Incaviglia 6, and Gonzalez on the bench today with a couple. So you take all those guys in a row in the middle like that who are hot. They've been generating a bunch of runs. Got to be fun to pitch for this club right now.
Doherty slashes it foul into the crowd. The first game of this series, let's see, on Thursday, Doherty faced Crawford once and he grounded out to second base. Happy time is here again.
I think that they might be able to finish up the season in pretty good fashion offensively. You know, it's a good offensive ball club.
There's a drive on the end of the bat that'll curve foul into the bullpen. Just kind of died.
They've probably been swinging the bats as well as anyone for the last 3 months, just from the standpoint of the difference that they have made up over that time period.
There's the Jack Doherty Memorial undershirt too. It's there every day.
But they had a little bit of their lull period, and some that that happens with any team, any good hitting ball club. And with 3 weeks left in the season and getting hot like this, they should be, I would imagine, probably a good offensive club for the remainder of the season.
Playing today, Juan Gonzalez not drawing the start, and he's been a hot hitter.
You take a look at the teams that they have to face the remainder of the season. New York having trouble with their pitching staff, along with Milwaukee. Minnesota also problems, along with California. Seattle and Oakland, the only 2 clubs that they play that have solid starting rotation. Here's a good sinker starting it on the inside. It freezes a hitter, and his first thought is it's going to be a ball. I'm not going to swing at it, and it comes back out over the plate for a strike.
Hinkie has bounced out to the second baseman and to the pitcher. 0 for 2. By the way, we'll be looking at all the scores a little bit later, but it did happen today, did it not? Oakland over New York. They got their sweep. 12 out of 12, right? And you had another number on that, didn't you? The Oakland, New York. You said
there was Oakland scored 62 runs in that 12 games this year to New York's 12.
Domination.
You're not going to win many ball games scoring 12 runs in 12 games.
Gonna have some.
And they didn't.
Great pitching. No, they didn't win any. Hinkie down on the count, no balls and 2 strikes.
The Rangers just fixing to go in to play the Yankees. 3-game set starting tomorrow. Chance to look at some nice young players. Moss. Ranger fans got a chance to look at here. He hit a few home runs.
Tipped the bat. Nope, just swung at it, missed, not caught, thrown out at first. Incaviglia strikeout victory. Here's Petrale. Petrale popped up and walked. His last time at bat, he led off with a walk. He was part of the 3-run inning, although he was wiped out at third when Kunkel tried to bunt he and Buechele over. The bunt was too hard, and George Brett made the throw across the diamond for the force. Fouled back. Petralli, if you read the papers in the Metroplex this morning, you're saying, wait a minute, didn't I read that he was, yeah, you're right, he had strep throat and they thought he might not even go to New York tomorrow, but here he is in the lineup. Wonder drugs. Some kind of myosin or penicillin or something has got him back in the lineup. 1 ball and 1 strike. One and 2. Here is another look. Earlier we were talking about the various types of glare block.
That's the ointment. That's the stuff that gets all over your face.
And Petralli strikes out. So 3 strikeouts in the inning for Crawford. And the Rangers go down meekly in the 6th. But we're all tied 5-5 as we go to the 7th, top of the batting order for Kansas City.
The top of the 7th, we'd like to remind you that our next Ranger telecast will be this Friday night at 7:30 as the Rangers host the Milwaukee Brewers. We'll have the first game of that series live right here on HSE.
You see the weather conditions here. The Rangers have made a pitching change. Mike Jeffcoat will come in and start the 7th, facing the top of the batting order, the left-hander.
Yeah, Mike 4-5 on the year with a .479 earned average in his 32nd appearance of the year. Spending some time in the rotation, now back in the bullpen, having problems with his back this year, the injuries, and says now I'm back's feeling pretty good. Has not allowed an earned run in his last 9 2/3 innings over his last 3 appearances, and I'm pretty sure Bobby Valentine feeling a little insecure and going with Jeffcoat here. McMurtry having a solid inning last inning, but with the top of the order coming up, Bobby Valentine switching it up.
Well, the top of the order, of course, includes that man Brett. And last time McMurtry faced him, he hung one and laid it right over the middle of the plate, and Brett hit a 2-run homer. 1 ball and 1 strike to McRae as he bluffs the bunt, takes a strike. We have an update on a couple of scores. Atlanta continues the rout of the Houston Oilers 27-0. And San Diego has taken a lead over the Cowboys 14-7 with 6:49 left in the 2nd quarter on a Marion Butts 1-yard run. I don't know if you can call it 1-yard run, but that's what it was. There's a strikeout, and that takes care of McRae.
That's what happens when you get caught looking for something else. A fastball right down there, and the off-speed pitch, something in the mind of Brian McRae, and Jeffcoat able to shoot that ball by him.
Jeffcoat last saw action in the Cleveland series on the 5th. He went an inning, gave up a hit, struck out 1.
Did a great job for Bobby Valentine out of the bullpen early in the season. And because of problems with the 5th starter in the rotation, got the opportunity to come out of the bullpen and was not quite as effective in that spot in the rotation as he was last year, where he was 2nd in victories the 2nd half of the season next to Ryan.
That one misses outside. Just in the bullpen, there's some loosening up by Arnsberg right now. Meanwhile, it's Mike Jeffcoat with a 5-5 game, 1 out. The pitch to Seitzer, and that's up top. 3 balls and a strike.
This is the time of the year that's really difficult to start matching up pitchers and hitters late in the ball game with guys coming off the bench. You've got a ton of people. Bobby Valentine has a whole load of hitters they can use off the bench and pitchers.
Doherty didn't have to move much, and that's out number 2, and it'll bring up George Brett, who has had 2 hits. We received word that Ricky Henderson was 0 for 3 today. He came into the day at .326. Brett came in at .322, but George is 2 for 3. And this is what he did the last time up. McMurtry just hung one right in his eyes. He hung it in the front row of the bleachers. He chops it off his foot. Foul ball.
And you really want to be careful with him here also. The game tied, George still in the position to hurt you. You know, even though you've got Jackson coming up next, he has been struggling with 2 outs. It's a situation where you got to try to make Brett swing at your pitch. There's a case right there, a fastball in off the plate that he fouled down off his foot.
He'll hop around and see what he can.
You notice we talked a little bit about it last night, the tape on his fingers, because he doesn't use any batting gloves. That pine tar really eats at your hands, dries out your hands, and you get cracked fingers and everything. So he's got the 3 Band-Aids today. Seen him with 4 in the past. He gets down to 1 or 2, but the 3 Band-Aid day.
He's 3 Band-Aids deep.
And he's got some really tough hands. You can shake hands with people, and a lot of times you have an indication of how strong somebody is. He has got really tough hands, big hands, and of course that's very typical of good hitters that have very strong fingers and able to use the bat with the hands.
Spend a lot of time in the cage, a lot of time hitting. Fouled it away.
Been really a strange year for him. He said really probably the strangest of all the years, that he had his slowest start of his career, had as low as 200 in May, late May, and then has rebounded since that point in time and put up some huge numbers since that.
With this at bat, he's hitting 323.6, so he's just at 324. But he just lost that, so the batting race continues. 2 strikeouts in 3 at-bats for Jeffcoat. We'll go to the bottom of the 7th. It's stretch time for Ranger fans. Stretch out the offense with Buechele leading off when we return. Everything else is just delight. Now let's take a look at other American League action. 3-1 Seattle over Boston. That a final. One of the highlights of that game was Matt Young striking out 4 batters in 1 inning. Wade Boggs reached on a passed ball, and he had 3 other strikeouts. That was after a strikeout. Became the 21st pitcher in Major League history to do that. Young won the game too. Other scores: it was 7-3 Oakland over New York. We told you a little bit about the details of that. McGuire at his 36th homer. 3-1 Baltimore over California. It was 6-1 Toronto downing Chicago. Game still underway. Cleveland with a 12-9 lead over Minnesota in the 9th. That features a 7-run inning, in Detroit 4-0 over Milwaukee. That one's also late. The Bud Light scoreboard. Let's go back to action now. Steve Buechele will lead things off in the bottom of the 7th. He started things. He was the first runner to score in the 5th when the Rangers scored 3. He singled. He's 1 for 2. Two balls and no strikes.
Boo really is a lot like Incaviglia from the standpoint that they're streaky hitters. You'll see Boo go through a period where the run his average up 20-30 points, and then all of a sudden it'll go down just about that much. And it usually corresponds to the time where teams are pitching him outside. He's a good middle away hitter down in the strike zone normally, and get some teams, you go through staffs. It's funny how some teams will pitch you one way and have success. Another will pitch you a different way and not. And yet that's how those teams predominantly end up staying with those particular patterns. It's interesting that adjustments are made. Sometimes they're not.
3 balls and a strike. I think one of the statistics that's interesting is career average against a particular team, and that pitch is right there for strike 2. The reason I say that is because over the course of a year, if you're a player that's played a number of years, pitching staffs have a tendency to turn over quite a great deal, but there's some teams you just don't hit well against. Doesn't matter who their pitchers are. Here's the 3-2. Half swing foul.
Well, too, the matchup sometimes, the pitcher's style to the hitter's style. For example, some pitchers just in their mind think, I got to keep the ball down. That's where I work most effectively. I keep the ball down. But if you're looking at a low ball hitter, that's not a good idea. You need to try to work the ball in the upper part of the plate. There's always been the thought that, you know, try to keep the ball down, make good pitches, keep the ball down. But if you follow a lot of the pitchers in today's game, Clemens, Ryan, among a number of other ones, the fastball up in the strike zone is an excellent pitch.
Crawford has had some excellent pitches. He's faced 5. He struck out 4, including 4 in a row.
It's an off-speed pitch that he has gotten everybody out with the last 4 batters. It has really been dropping. Now, the important thing about a breaking pitch is a late break. You get sometimes have this slow breaker, but that fast, quick drop at the end is the one that's most effective. There it is again. To a guy here that's been undisciplined and balls down in the strike zone. You can what you call climb. There's climbing the ladder where you use a fastball, and if a guy swings at a pitch up in the strike zone, you throw a little bit higher, and if he swings that pitch, you throw the next one up. That's climbing the ladder. Well, with Jeff, you can go down the ladder with him with breaking pitches. There's that one just a little bit lower there, and this one here wouldn't surprise me if it was in the dirt.
Let's see if he goes into the basement on this one. That was a good example of what you're talking about. No balls and 2 strikes. Actually, it was up a little bit, but he fouled it. Not that he wanted to throw it up a little bit. It just happened to be up a little bit. I was able to get a bat on it.
But for Jeff to improve on his hitting, I think a couple of things are going to have to take place, and that is stay off of the fastball up in the strike zone, also the breaking pitch out of the strike zone down. And you start swinging at balls and that type of separation, that big of a strike zone, you really have problems. You got to try to narrow your strike zone, make it smaller, and when you do that, you become a better hitter. And when he has gone through spells where he has done that, he has hit the ball very well.
No balls and 2 strikes.
You could call for a fastball here out of the strike zone somewhere, make him chase it right there, and then come right back with something in the dirt or something down off speed.
Let's see what he does. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Off speed. That's 2 strikeouts in a row in this inning. 5 already for Crawford. That's 8 Rangers that have fanned.
And what's nice from my position right here is working with a catcher who I know how he works a little bit and who's smart about it. I mean, a lot of times you know up here sitting in the booth how you'd work a guy, but not all catchers, I think, have the knowledge or the experience on how to work hitters. Bob Boone right there, one of the finest in the game, if not the finest today.
Pettis has struck out twice, and he slashes the ball into the crowd.
I think a frustration for Bob Boone too is the amount of playing time that he has had. I think he very much feels that he can still play, and the thing about catching is your knowledge and your wisdom of game calling doesn't leave. Your physical skills begin to go. You may not be able to run as fast or throw as hard or hit as much, and I'm not saying that that's Bob Boone's case, but all of a sudden you find yourself not playing. You go, wait a minute now. Just not too long ago, you were saying I'm a very valuable part of this team because of my game calling. Everybody works very well with me. I add a lot to this team because the opposing team score less runs, and now all of a sudden I'm not playing as much.
That's off the glove. Pettis is going to beat that one out. Base hit. Pettis on base for the first time. 1 for 4 on that ball off the pitcher's glove. Let's take a look at it again. This is where speed can help a lot.
He got him to strike out twice today on a ball just out of the zone. That one had the strike zone, was able to get a little piece of it just to put it in play and let his speed do the work.
You know, getting back to Boone, your point about him not playing, we're talking drastically not playing. This was only his 36th game of the year.
Of course, he had the broken finger earlier that put him on the shelf for a while and had to have surgery. And since coming back, John Wathan has gone to a position in which Boone plays 1 every 5 days.
Frank Funk is out to the mound. He had a word with the home plate umpire, Dan Morrison. Mark Davis is throwing in the bullpen. I'm not sure whether he was. First, I thought he might be telling him he was going to do some kind of a switch, even though normally the manager would do that. But that was not it. He was just requesting time, and now he's stalling.
Well, Mark Davis is ready to come back and play. They've just been waiting for a situation to get him into. He has thrown on the side, and his arm is ready. And John Wathan was discussing yesterday the opportunity, the right opportunity to get him in there.
A couple of football updates at halftime. The Denver leads the Raiders 6-0, but here in Dallas at Irving it is San Diego 14, the Cowboys 7 at halftime. We are 5-5. We're past halftime here. We're in the bottom of the 7th. Julio Franco is the hitter with Pettis at first and 2 outs. Franco has walked, stolen second, singled, and reached on a fielder's choice and scored. There goes Pettis, and he's there. Pettis' 33rd steal of the season.
It really was an opportunity. Pettis with a big jump. Boone knows it, tries to get rid of it very quick, and in the process, the ball pops out of the glove. I don't think he would have had a chance of getting Gary. Crawford slow to the plate, and that's the advantage of Pettis getting on in this situation, the 7th inning, to get your team into scoring position.
And you got a good clutch hitter in this position with Franco. He's got 62 runs batted in.
He's not in a very good situation, the standpoint that you mentioned Franco and also Palmeiro coming up next. Both couple of hitters able to plate the go-ahead run.
Gary with 33 steals, now 10 behind the total he had last year in Detroit. In fact, last year he stole 43 and was thrown out 15 times. This year he's stolen 33 and has been thrown out 15 times.
And it looks like to me they don't really want to pitch to Julio. It looks like they may possibly end up walking him and let Davis pitch to Palmeiro.
3 balls and a strike.
Yeah, take a 3-0 count. You throw an off-speed pitch. It kind of shows you, look, we're not going to give in to the hitter. He's going to have to hit our pitch.
Franco looks at a lot of pitches. That's also a good trait, and it also shows being a veteran. He's had counts today of 3-0, 3-1, 2-0, 3-0, 3-1 now. In ball 4. He's walked twice.
And being that number 2 spot, that's important. You want to be able to work the count and get on base.
Crowd reception is generous for Rafael Palmeiro, as last time up he had a 3-run double, and that tied the ball game. And here comes John Wathan. He's going to make the change. It will be Mark Davis. And while we're waiting for Mark Davis, let us tell you National League, take a look at the National League scoreboard. Philadelphia beat New York today 6-2. That's a blow to the Mets in their shot at catching the Pirates. Combs was the winner. Former Rice and Baylor pitcher. Fernandez was the losing pitcher. Baver got his 12th save. Magadan a homer and Hayes a homer, the latter one for Philadelphia. In the 9th inning, Montreal scored 4, and they lead Pittsburgh 9-5 in the 9th. Fitzgerald hit a home run in the 6th. And Bonds hit one and King hit one for the Pirates. Now homer's not a factor in the 9th, but 4 runs are. Also, Houston, San Francisco. San Francisco 1-0 in the 6th. Portugal against Lacoste, no homers. LA leads Cincinnati 3-1. As we turn the second page to other scores, that's in the 4th inning. Jackson against Martinez. Atlanta is trailing San Diego 1-0 in the 5th. Glavine against Venice. Carter his 23rd homer in the 2nd. And the Chicago-St. Louis game will be tonight. We also have an update on a football score. The Oilers have scored. They now trail Atlanta 27-7. And there is Mark Davis. And there are the numbers, which aren't very good.
I don't think anybody would have thought that at this point in the season he would have those type of numbers, reflecting back to spring training and the type of year that he'd had the year before and what he was going to offer the Royals in 1990. But he has had his problems. He has an outstanding breaking ball that that has not been as consistent. His fastball has been off. Spent some time on the DL, making his first appearance after coming off.
He has given up 7 home runs in just 48 innings. And the average against him is 285, so he hasn't been mystifying. And here's what happened last time with Rafael Palmeiro. He took it right where it was pitched on the outside off McGaffigan. 3 runs scored. They were all unearned. Great effort by Eisenreich. The backup man wasn't there in time, the center fielder McRae, and 3 runs scored with 2 outs. Now Palmeiro is in another RBI situation. His count for the year is up to 81. Let's see if he can click the counter a couple more times. 2 outs. There's that big breaking ball. It's outside. 1 ball and no strikes. Now Davis's year and a couple other free agents may scare some people away during the offseason, particularly with pitchers, unless the pitcher is not just a 1-year guy, but a 2 or 3 year tried and true guy that's 100% healthy.
The most difficult thing of doing what Davis did, you change teams, you sign a big multi-million-dollar contract.
There's a drive to the corner and right. It is caught at the corner by Schultz, and he saves the day for the Royals.
Wow.
So the Rangers leave 2 on a drive to the corner by Palmeiro, hauled in by Schultz, and we're still tied at 5 to the 8th. Everyone's having a good Sunday afternoon watching Ranger baseball. Greg Lucas here along with Jim Sundberg. We are. It is all tied at 5. We've seen some sparkling plays like the one Schultz just made, the one Eisenreich made earlier, and of course the big base hit by Palmeiro and a couple of home runs. What more could you want on a Sunday afternoon?
We have had everything here. We've got a major league rookie debut.
Yeah. All we have yet is a game to win as far as the Rangers are concerned. There's Gary Green. He's gone in to play shortstop, and several of the players coming in with the sunglasses. Pete Incaviglia, although they aren't going to help Gary if he wears them in his back pocket. You got to really be quick putting them on if you keep them in your back pocket. Here's Bo Jackson.
He's quick too.
Yeah, not as quick as Ivar Swanson.
No, nobody was quicker than Ivar.
13.3 seconds around the bases. Whew. Bo takes a strike as he can't hold up on the swing. Jeffcoat pitching.
I think if Bo finds out about that record, he may try to challenge Ivar.
No balls and a strike to Bo Jackson, who has singled an infield hit in 3 at-bats. By the way, update on Nolan Ryan. Last night, of course, he was hit on the lip, split lip, on the bouncing ball from Bo Jackson early in the game. Well, Nolan took some stitches after the game, but he's okay, and he'll be in his normal spot in the rotation, scheduled to be Friday, a game you'll see on most of these HSC affiliates.
He's going to have trouble puckering up for a few days.
Sure will. He's going to be a little tight. We're tied at 5. The Rangers have been out hit 2-1. The Royals have 10 hits. The Rangers have just 5, but the runs are even. 2 balls and 2 strikes as Jackson wood chops at that pitch. Can't handle it.
And Bo's had a lot of luck here with the long ball, and in this situation with your team tied 8th inning and your big power hitter up, your job is to try to go for the long one. Of course, with his kind of speed too, you have other options. You could try to drive a ball into the gaps, go for extra bases, double, triple.
He's a plus 400 hitter when he makes contact, but he didn't make contact this time. Jeffcoat blows him down. That's 3 strikeouts for Mike. Just came in the 7th.
Nice off speed away. Jackson really pulling off. The tendency was with a left-handed pitcher, and you a little more comfortable with him, think you can try to drive the ball a little bit farther, you have a tendency to move that front shoulder out. A good example of that there.
Jim Eisenreich struck out his first time, then singled, was picked off second in the fourth, and retired unassisted Palmeiro in the fifth inning of play. No balls and a strike to Eisenreich. Jeffcoat is the third Ranger pitcher. Should be handled by Franco at second. Over to Palmeiro. 2 down. Gerald Alexander started, went 3 1/3 innings, gave up 8 hits and 3 earned runs. McMurtry went 2 2/3, gave up 2 hits and 2 earned runs. The 2 hits on a 2-run, or the 2 runs on a 2-run homer by George Brett. Jeffcoat has now gone 1 2/3 innings. No one's been on base. Jeff Schultz, who made the fine running catch to end the bottom half of the 7th, up now. He's 1 for 3. Foul ball.
Manager John Wathan has not made a lot of moves in this series, and you got 4 right-handers on the bench. Palacios, another catcher, usually not used as a pitch hitter but as a defensive replacement behind the plate. Frank White struggling offensively. McFarland, the starting catcher, on the bench, and then Denny Tartable, who's hurt.
Rumors that Tartable could be a Cub next year. Been a lot of talk about that the Cubs would like to make a deal. They'd like to get another power hitter into the lineup. No balls and 2 strikes.
I think Tartable, finding out about playing in Wrigley Field, would jump off any place he's sitting.
And Jerome Walton, I think, is a name that they talk about coming the other way. Of course, he's an outfielder that covers some ground, and that's the kind of player you like to have if he's going to have to play half his games in the artificial turf spaces of Kansas City.
You go from the biggest ballpark in the American League in Kansas City to the smallest in the National League in Wrigley Field, and being a home run hitter, it increases your options considerably.
Thing that people sometimes forget, that yes, the wind blows in there probably as much or more than it blows out, but that still doesn't change the 368-foot power alleys. They're still short.
Well, too, where that fence comes in is about 355 at that area. I've seen Andre Dawson hit that net several times with line drives, and that's the thing about it. When that wind blows in, if you keep the ball down, hit line drives like Sandberg and Dawson can, you can still get the ball out in those ballparks. Here again, the wind changing, shifting, going from right to left.
Well, Jeffcoat has certainly been impressive. He has struck out 2 in each of the 2 innings that he has worked so far. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. Sierra, Doherty, and Incaviglia coming up. The Rangers need a run to take the lead. It's 5-5. Lenses and tape machines captured a fan in the running for the Whataburger grandstand play, but he moved. Before we could send a runner down to get his name and make him an official contestant in our contest, he disappeared. So keep that in mind. You come to a game, you make a catch on a foul ball, stay where you are. We may want your name. If you do, you could be a recipient of a year's supply of Whataburgers and a finalist in the Whataburger grandstand play of the season.
I think he's hiding underneath that shirt. Look like me.
Well, we have certainly lost our fan. That's, make one of those catches and hang around. I mean, there are people watching it, including HSZ. Here's Ruben Sierra.
Well, I have become a big Whataburger fan. I have them at least twice a homestand.
You want to go down the stand sometime and see if you can
really hungry, right?
Get into this thing and catch a couple. Here's Sierra. Sierra has flied out deep to left field. In fact, that cost the Rangers a run in the first inning. It was a nice catch by Eisenreich against the wall. He struck out, and then first man to face Crawford. We've had a new pitcher. Davis, of course, came in last inning, so this is his first time against Davis. But the first time he faced Crawford, he grounded out, and so this is the first time he's facing Davis. This will be the 3rd pitcher. He's faced all of them. He's faced all 3 of them: McGaffigan, Crawford, and Davis. And it's 2 balls and a strike. First time he's obviously hit right-handed in the game tonight. His average right-handed, and we've talked about this every time he steps around, is higher.
power production down. You've got Doherty coming up next, who is not as good right-handed as left. So just the opposite between the two.
Yeah, it's about 2-to-1 his number of at-bats left-handed. He's had about twice as many, but the home runs are 13-3. Well, 13-4, I think. Is it going to make it? Nope. Almost. Got that one too high, and whatever wind was out there didn't help it.
Evidently doing a little bit of swirling down the line. I thought that ball was gone also. So did Sierra. Eisenreich gets to the wall. Nice job of getting to the wall and then reacting from there.
It's one of those frustrating games for Ruben. Twice now he has hit the ball to the wall. And twice Eisenreich has had to put at least a little hop in it to catch it. Now Juan Gonzalez will pinch hit. We, of course, featured Juan on our open because he has been so red hot. He probably wonders, what do you have to do in the major leagues? I'm red hot, I have a hitless game, and I don't start the next one. Got to get a hit every day, I guess. There's a drive to the gap. Eisenreich racing over, and he can't get it. Going into second base, standing with a double, is Juan Gonzalez. Well, there's his hit.
This guy has been everywhere. He shows you the type of player he is. Just really tries very hard. A ball out over the plate, missed the location entirely, and this time McRae a little bit closer to Eisenreich, able to back up, keep it to a double.
So Gonzalez in as a pinch hitter, doubles to left, and it'll be Incaviglia trying to bring in the lead run. They're going to walk him. He isn't going to have a chance. Well, Davis, I don't think, wants to.
They're going to walk him. They've got Petralli coming up next, but you've got a whole potload of right-handers on the Ranger bench. You've got Farr just now warming up in the Royals bullpen, so a number of different options that you can do here coming up.
Now Wathan's coming out. You got to think that he didn't want to do it. Because they had everything set up. Boone had already made the outside signal. Calls him out to the mound.
Yeah, that was real strange. It appeared to be that way. It looked as if they started to do the intentional walk, and Davis was really wanting to make sure, looking to the dugout, if that's really what was happening. And also as if, hey, wait a minute, I don't think I want to do that.
He's counting this as one visit. That is the motion you see from Dan Morrison. Even though he had left the mound, he'd not left the field. Morrison saying we're going to count this as one visit. Having a real discussion out there. Now we'll see who wins. The manager's supposed to win.
And I would imagine if they intentionally walk Inky and they'll bring in Stanley to pitch hit, and in that case, if Rangers bring in Stanley, they'll probably go to Farr. And if that happens, then Valentine will probably go back to Reimer. So what this whole mess here may end up being is Farr facing Reimer.
You realize Davis probably also, you're right, maybe out of the game. He hadn't exactly shown too well. The three batters that have hit the ball against him, two of them hit it to the wall, one to left, one to right, and the other one doubled. But I don't see him coming out yet unless they're just draining this as far as they can. Wathan on the dugout level.
Yeah, they're just going to go with him. They go, hey, you're the guy we signed at the beginning of the year. This is your first outing back, and we want you to go ahead and get your work in here. We got you to come over to the Royals because you get righties and lefties out.
So he faces the pinch hitter, Mike Stanley. Runners at first and second, one out. Ball one. Davis. Has pitched 2/3 of an inning, and his 2/3 have totaled about 700 feet.
Well, Stanley, Doherty, Reimer really have made the best pitch hitters on the Ranger club. Stanley able to do a little bit of catching and keeps him fresh enough so that when he comes off the bench as a pitch hitter, he has a pretty good idea. Timing pretty decent.
One pitch away from loading him up with Buechele, the next hitter. Stanley, 250 as a pinch hitter. Davis has only thrown 4 strikes out of 17 pitches, and he has thrown 4 strikes out of 18 pitches, and 2 of those strikes were hit to the wall, and 1 was hit for a double. So he's only thrown 1 strike that wasn't hit.
Rothen coming out to go to far, and I would imagine Valentine has the option of staying with Buechele. Of course, he also could go with Reimer. Valentine has pitched hit for Buechele at other times, and could be a good option.
Well, Buechele at least is going back to the dugout, and here it comes. I think you call that one right on, because it looks like it's going to be Reimer. And Steve Farr will now get to warm up. Well, for the Royals, they want to win a game out of this series. My goodness, they've gone 2-10 on the road, so they're pulling out as many stops as they can.
Well, it's the Royals bullpen that has given them really problems on this homestand. It has been a very solid part of their pitching staff most of the year, except for the problems Davis has had. But this road trip, it has been trouble.
Don't forget, there's plenty more Texas Ranger action coming up on HSE after this series. We'll have a single game in the Milwaukee series on Friday, September 14th for part of the network. And then Monday, September 24th, and Wednesday, September 26th, the California Angels by the Oakland A's to close out the year. Stay with us for the whole season. Check local listings for games in your area. Steve Farr, 10-6, 2.29. Started his career in the Pittsburgh organization. Really made it when he went to the Royals, and has been one of their good one of their good relievers. It's been used in several different roles during his course of his time with Kansas City. Started for a while.
Having an outstanding year. He's in his free agency season, and he has really put together some good numbers. Been used in a lot of different spots.
Started a couple games last year. Started one in '88, but mostly a relief pitcher. He was in 56 games in '86, 47 in '87, 62 and 51 in succeeding years. Once had a 13-1 record with a 1.61 earned run average as a starting pitcher for Buffalo in the Pirate chain. That was a while back. Belcher will run for Stanley at first base. And Reimer will be the hitter.
And the reason for that, the potential double play ball, Bobby Valentine going with a speedster at first to try to break up 2.
Bases loaded, 1 out. Ball 1. Kevin Reimer, who has been used of late pretty much exclusively as a pinch hitter, had a big game-winning RBI against the Cleveland Indians back on Wednesday the 5th. In a pinch hit roll in the bottom of the 9th. There's a slash foul into the crowd. The runners for the Rangers, the bases are all full of them. Down at third is Juan Gonzalez. He had the pinch hit double. At second base, Pete Incaviglia, intentional walk. And just a plain old walk. That's Belcher, who is running for Stanley, who walked. Belcher, the pinch runner, behind George Brett. Foul ball.
Well, Reimer, of all the pitch hitters, has the most difficult situation from the standpoint basically used as a pitch hitter. He's the one guy that has to stay ready, doesn't get the opportunity to play much, not a position player, although he's used in the outfield a couple of times. But basically Kevin's position here has been, hey, I need you late in the ball game. I want you to come off the bench and get that key hit.
300 hitter is a pinch hitter on that 9 for 30, and he pops it on the handle, and that'll be handled by Stillwell at short. Doesn't get it this time. That's 2 outs. And Green is due, but Houston will hit. So Jeff Houston will be the 3rd shortstop. This is a percentage move. Jeff, of course, has not been hitting lately. He's hitting .241 with no homers and 25 RBIs. He's been in a big slump.
He's come up with a couple of key hits for the Rangers with numbers. When you look at him RBI-wise, not that big. He has some clutch hits. And that move there just leaves really 3 catchers left to play along with Coolbaugh. Kruder and Hasselman still on the bench. I'm sure Russell or possibly Kruder probably will come in the game defensively.
He faced Farr twice 2 days ago and pulled the ball down to the first baseman, retired unassisted, and struck out on his 2 at-bats. So he's seen him recently. Maybe that'll be a help. No balls and a strike. That stays away, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. The bases are loaded. The score is tied. 5-5. Bottom of the 8th. 2 outs. Royals jumped out on top 3-0. 2-run single by Brett, an RBI single by Pacoda. Rangers came back on a 2-run homer by Doherty. That's fouled back into the crowd. The Rangers then fell behind 5-2 on a 2-run homer by Brett. And the Rangers came back on a 3-run double by Palmeiro with 2 outs after an error kept the inning alive. That's where we are. We're tied at 5. One ball and 2 strikes. Got him. Foul tip into the glove, held by catcher Bob Boone, and the Rangers leave the bases loaded. They had the bases loaded with 1 out. Can't get any in. We will go to the 9th inning, and we're tied at 5. Five changes for the Rangers, including the pitcher. Let's take a look at what the lineup looks like now. Gonzalez is in right field. Pettis and Incaviglia stay where they were. Coolbaugh is in at 3rd base for Buechele. Houston stays in the game at short, and the battery is different. Kruder is now catching, and Brad Arnsberg is on the mound. There is Mr. Arnsberg. He is appearing in his 42nd game. 5-1 with a 1.83, and the first man he faces is Kurt Stillwell.
And he, along with Kenny Rogers, really have filled in for Jeff Russell. Brad has just issued 6 runs in 29 1/3 innings, covering 23 appearances for a 1.84 earned run average. He's been very consistent. He's been effective in 3 games in a row, and over the long haul, 19 out of 24 has been very good ones for him.
The batting order will be Coolbaugh will hit 7th. That would be in the Petrali slot. And Kruder will hit 8th in the Buechele spot. 2 balls and a strike.
That leaves Bobby Valentine with just 2 people left on the bench of the 10 that started the game. Russell and Hasselman, the 2 remaining players. Valentine always trying to get players on the bench in the ball game, try to use the players as much as he can to keep them sharp.
3 balls and 2 strikes. Well, somebody doesn't score a run, then they all have a chance to get real sharp.
This team reminds me of some of the spring training. They got a B team on the bench. They got so many.
3 balls and 2 strikes. Foul tip back to the screen. Stillwell has popped out, singled, and popped out. Twice fouled out to 3rd. Jeffcoat, the preceding pitcher here, you may have heard that in the background from John Blake. His numbers pretty good. 2 innings, 4 strikeouts. There's a base hit to right field by Stillwell as the 9th inning begins, and when you get that leadoff man on, then the strategic wheels can start to move. And Pacoda, the hitter,
second baseman Bill Pacoda,
more than likely be called on to get the man down to second base as he checks the sign. Stillwell checks across the diamond. Pacoda drove in a run with a single in the 4th, struck out his last time.
You got Bob Boone coming up next. John Wathan has Perry on the bench, the only left-hander. Of course, you got switch hitters Jeltz and Wilson.
That'll get him down easily. Arnsberg, whoa, almost threw it right into the runner, but he got to it. That was a tough catch for Franco, tougher than it looked because the ball was almost in line with the runner. But going into second base on the sacrifice is Stillwell.
The thing that's tough about this play can be the fact that the runner's so close to the line, and Arnsberg able to get it inside enough. Franco given an inside target, getting off the mound very quick, coming over barehanding it, the ball just about dead, and you can do that when the ball has stopped. Can be dangerous if it's rolling, but Franco there in time to make the tag.
Willie Wilson will be the pinch hitter for Boone. Wilson is coming into the ball game with an average of 285, 2 homers, 42 RBIs. He's had 8 pinch hit appearances this year, and he's still looking for his first hit.
Has been one of the better hitters with men in scoring position for the Royals. And probably one of the reasons why John Wathan using him here. You got also the options of Perry on the bench.
There has been no scoring since the bottom of the 5th. 5 runs for each team prior to that. Rangers had a threat in the bottom of the 8th. Now Stillwell at second base with 1 out in the top of the 9th. First pitch to Wilson is called a ball. 1 ball and no strikes. Top of the batting order due. Good average with runners in scoring position over 300. But then we'll throw that 0 for 7 as a pinch hitter at you. For every good stat, there's always a bad one.
Pitch hitting is just so much of a different role, versus the everyday player. Takes a different mindset. You got to come off. Of course, Willie is a type of hitter, being a fastball hitter. That's the type of players normally that make good hitters coming off the bench.
We slashed that one behind the dugout. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Top of the batting order, Brian McRae is in the on-deck circle with Kevin Seitzer and Brett. And again, we get back to that story again. There's 1 out, so you don't want to get any more base runners on with Brett. Swung and missed, and he's retired at first, and Kruder tosses him out. So they're 2 down now, and it'll be Brian McRae.
That's really one of the Chad's strengths right there, blocking a pitch a number of times last year and catching Nolan Ryan. Nolan has a very difficult curveball to block. It has a lot of bite on it, goes down very hard, and a lot of times it bounces up. But Chad did a very nice job with it last year, and right there a good example of another fine block.
10 strikeouts divided among the 4 Ranger pitchers. There's a line hopper to the first baseman Palmeiro. Rangers should be out of trouble. They are. Arnsberg gives up the leadoff single to the sacrifice to get Stillwell in scoring position, but retires the next 2, and we go to the bottom of the 9th. The top of the batting order, the Rangers and the Royals are tied at 5. He will hit 6th because Willie Wilson stays in the game and he goes to left field, and Jim Eisenreich moves to right field. In other words, the man out of the game is Mr. Schultz. He's out of the game, and so that's where McFarland fits into the batting order. Top of the batting order for the Rangers with Gary Pettis, Julio Franco, and Rafael Palmeiro up. Rangers need just one now. It's sudden victory time for the home team as we're tied. This season, the Texas Rangers have won 10 games at home in the bottom of the 9th or later. In other words, the bottom of something at home. That's really a phenomenal number.
And again, coming from behind, they've done that 32 times this year. Able to come back and tie the Royals in this game.
Pettis takes the first one upstairs. Everything is finished in the American League. We'll be recapping the scores later. In the National League, a couple of games still going. There's a strike. Well, just as I speak, the Dodgers take the lead back from the Reds 5-4 in the 5th. I was about to say 4-3 Reds, but the Dodgers scoring in the 5th. They have a 1-run lead. San Diego leading Atlanta 7-2. San Francisco beat Houston, by the way, 5-1. Pettis drives the ball to deep left center, back toward the track, but McRae and Wilson, and McRae knocks Wilson down. Well, for all those years, Willie Wilson was the captain of the outfield. He was the center fielder. Sometimes old habits are hard to break. That's McRae's job right now.
Doesn't want to give it up.
In
the case of what you mentioned, a couple of captains in the outfield together. One not used to having to pull off of a ball.
And Willie's saying, yeah, you're right. You're the center fielder. I'm a left fielder now. So.
One used to play with his dad. Now he's playing with the young McRae.
Yeah. Julio Franco has walked, singled, reached on a fielder's choice, and walked every time. He's been a base runner. Rangers need him now. There's a strike. No balls and a strike. Scored twice. Stole a base. See, he hadn't driven in a run. A home run would be a run driven in. That would kind of close things out here, wouldn't it?
That would be real nice.
Foul ball right side probably will make the stands. Steve Farr, the 4th of the pitchers that Kansas City has used. The Rangers have used 4. The Rangers used 21 players.
And he is a battler. They call him the Beast.
Here's the 0-2. Foul away.
Bounced around a little bit, spent some time with Cleveland, but since he has been with Kansas City, that's when his career has really sparkled. He's done an outstanding job for them.
Mostly an early reliever or a situation like this, game tied type reliever, and Franco was hit. It hit him on the hand or the wrist. I mean, boo all you want, but this game's tied. They weren't trying to hit him. He may have been trying to knock him back, but he wasn't trying to hit him. Doesn't want a base runner.
I think definitely they were trying to come in on him just from looking at the situation. The ball really took off, and it has really hit Julio Franco and hurt him. See the catcher set up inside, and I mean that
wasn't too close.
Was not too close. Steve Farr having excellent control.
Hit the backhand, and if there is a plus, it may be that he was already off the bat. In other words, he didn't have that tight grip when he got hit.
A little ethyl chloride to try to freeze it up a little bit. I'm not really sure how much that works. Everybody has it. Every trainer uses it. Gives you a cool sensation, but I'm not sure what kind of effect, if anything positive, it has.
Well, Franco will take his position at first base. Been on base all 5 times now. The last one is one he would rather have done in a different manner. But now Palmeiro is up. Well, what did he do last night? Exactly the same situation. 1 out, Franco at first. Palmeiro was the hitter. He doubled, won the ball game. That's what he did. He's had a 3-run double in the 5th. Last time up, he hit one to the right field wall off Mark Davis. He was the first batter that Davis faced. It was caught to end the scoring threat in the 7th. Last night he hit it against left-hander Israel Sanchez. This time he's trying Steve Farr.
Franco really has to stay in the game. It could get ugly if you have to use Russell or Hasselman at one of the positions.
2 days ago, Palmeiro faced Farr twice. He had a hit and a strikeout in his 2 at-bats. Base hit. 1 ball and no strikes. Royals looking for the double play grounder. Franco has to dive back in. He has to dive back in with that hand that he hurt too. That's the right hand.
I would think trying a stolen base or even a hit and run would be something in order. With Franco at first and Palmeiro hitting.
That was pretty close to a balk. Looked like a little shoulder move there before he. That's what Franco might be questioning. I think he was on the rubber. Last night, Jeff Hewson led off the 9th inning, flying out. Then Franco singled, and Sanchez was brought in to pitch to Palmeiro, and he doubled to left center to win the ball game. That one's inside. 2 balls and no strikes.
Now this is a case here where you really you want to keep the runner right there with a 2-0 count. You let Palmeiro swing, maybe get a good pitch, something he can really drive.
Got a big hole on the right side with the runner being held. Little off speed, takes it for a strike. 2 balls and a strike.
Now you go back to putting something on here. Put a run and hit. Let Franco go ahead and take off. Palmeiro gets a good pitch. Let him hit it.
Rangers 1 run away from their 5th win in a row. The Royals 1 run away from their 7th loss in a row. Still a 2-ball 1-strike count. We're tied at 5-5. Bottom of the 9th. Runner at first. Franco. He's not going. Palmeiro takes it inside. It's 3-1. Now, if you're a pitcher, you got to be real careful. You don't want to walk him, but you sure don't want to give him a fat one.
Steve Farr has always been able to get his breaking ball over when he's behind in the count. You may see him throw it 3-1 here, and also if that's for a strike and you have to go to 3-2, you can see him throw it in that count.
Franco goes. There's a base hit to right field. Eisenreich will pick up the ball, but the Rangers will have the runners on the corners with 1 man out. The winning run just 90 feet away in Julio Franco. There's the number 2 and number 3 men in the American League batting race. Conferring at first base is Palmeiro. Rips one. That's 2 hits for Palmeiro. George Brett is 2 for 4. Palmeiro is 2 for 5. So Brett is slightly ahead of him in the batting race, with Ricky Henderson on top. Although Ricky lost some points today, he was 0 for 3. He may not be on top. Depends on the computations. Now they're going to walk Sierra intentionally. Of course, with the winning run already at third, doesn't matter that you push the runner at first into second. In fact, that's fine. It helps them with force plays.
It's really their best option. I think a very smart move on John Wathen's part to go at it at this angle.
And Juan Gonzalez will be the hitter.
I think Avila walking up to him going, look, if you don't do it, I'm going to do it. So go up there and relax. Get comfortable. Get some good swing. Good pitch to hit. The case too here where you're probably going to see some maneuvering by John Wathen. You're going to want to bring the outfield in.
Yeah, he's got an extra infielder that's all warmed up. Willie Wilson is coming in. He's leaving the game, I think. And Steve Jeltz is going to be in, so they're going to have a 5 infield set up and 2 outfielders. This will be an interesting alignment when they finally get it straightened out. We'll get a good shot of it.
I would have loved to have hit in this situation. I don't think in the 16 years I played I got a hit with 2 outfielders. That's what it looks like when you're hot. And when you're going bad, it looks like there's about 6 of them out there.
Problem is, if you're the hitter, you just have to put that out of your mind. Otherwise, you're going to try to lift the ball and you're going to mess up your swing.